Welcome on a Friday. I am Chris Gore. How's it going today? Hope you're having a great day. Let's kick things off. Today, we're going to be talking about The Boys Season 3. First 3 episodes are on Amazon Prime right now. I've seen beyond the 3. Lots to talk about. Also, we'll be discussing indie films, Dan Mervish's 18½, which is in theaters, and a documentary about competitive eating called Scarf Face. In addition, we have guests today. Oh, who do we have on the show today? We have some amazing people on the show. We have Frank and Penelope, actor and director Sean Flannery, plus Wolfhound director Michael B. Chake. They'll be here today to talk to you and answer your questions. Let's get things started. Get your questions ready in the chat. I'm ready to go. Are you ready? I'm almost ready. Give me a second. All right, I'm ready. Let's go. Welcome to the Film Threat Podcast live on a Friday. How are you doing today? I hope you are well. I am joined today by my colleague, the editor-in-chief of Film Threat, Alan Ng. How's it going, man?
Good. I've traveled once again. I'm in Mendocino, California for the Mendocino Film Festival, and it just started last night. So, they put me up in a really nice hotel.
You keep mentioning this. I don't know that this is really a good strategy for you. Like, you keep mentioning it because what's going to happen is I'm just going to say, well, I would love to go to Mendocino, and then I'm going to be in your hotel room, and we don't want that. Neither of us wants that. But what are you set to see at the festival today?
Well, I think actually the big one I'm looking forward to is Marcel the Shell, which comes out tomorrow at the festival. That's just this weird, quirky, odd film that everyone's talking about. I guess it was based on some Saturday Night Live sketch, which I don't remember, or digital film, I should say. Mm-hmm. And people are talking about it, and I'm kind of excited to see it.
Cool. Well, I'm looking forward to your report. And before we get started talking about The Boys Season 3, which I can't wait to talk about, a couple of quick things. Support us and buy something on our channel. We've got mugs that you can get. We have Film Threat t-shirts. Go to shop.filmthreat.com. Help support what we do. This is my favorite mug, actually, this one. Of the mugs that we have, and I am wearing the classic logo Film Threat t-shirt here. This is the original logo for Film Threat from the first run of Film Threat magazines in the 80s. Yeah, that's how old we are. And also, if you want to contact us for any reason, we're easy to get a hold of, Alan or I. Just go to filmthreat.com/contact. And if you want something for free, send a self-addressed stamped envelope to Film Threat 5042 Wilshire Boulevard, PMB 1500, Los Angeles, California 90036. And as always, please like, share, subscribe. And we realize that every week we're getting new viewers. If you're not a subscriber to the channel, please subscribe. We do live streams every week on Wednesday nights and Friday mornings. We may be doing a third day of live streaming. We're trying to work that out right now. And next week, we're going to be doing our live stream a little bit early because I am going to see the movie RRR for now a 4th time in the theater. Yes, back. So RRR, which is on Netflix, it's an Indian film directed by S.S. Rajamouli. It is a brilliant, epic spectacle. It's funny. There's one dance number in the middle of the movie that's also spectacular, and I strongly recommend that you see this movie RRR, whether you see it on Netflix or whether you see it in theaters. I will say this, the theatrical experience, I took my daughter to see it, and it's 3 hours, by the way, with an intermission, or they call it interval. Anyways, so the crowd went nuts. I mean, a couple times I saw it like before, it was like there were a few people in the theater. This was a packed theater, and like just over the top reaction, people laughing, clapping, like where there's like so much applause. You're like, wait, what did they just say? Good thing there's subtitles. But I strongly recommend seeing that film. I know I talk about it a lot, but I really have like 3 movies I really love this year, maybe 4. Top Gun being among them, RRR, The Northman. Yeah, so 3 or 4 films this year I could say that I really loved, but check that out. Now, let's get right to it. I know why you're here. The Boys season 3. Let's discuss. Alan, you said you tried to watch the first season of The Boys.
Well, I made it through the first season of The Boys. I I'm very different than I think a lot of people in the chat is. I get fairly squeamish about these things, and I got through the half of first season, never watched the second one. They're, it's all back. It gets pretty gruesome at times. I think, we're not at spoilers yet, but I did enjoy it. And I think, once you get beyond the gruesomeness, there's some good themes going on. And I think that's what The Boys is about. The whole idea of, corporate superheroes, what happens when superheroes, become tainted in a way, with the fame and with the money and the, and so that just continues. And I think it takes it unlike Kenobi, this one sets everything off in the right direction, and you have a good sense of where this show is going to go, and you're on. I'm definitely on board. I do want to see the rest of season 3.
Well, let me start off with, you can't even compare this to Kenobi. I think Kenobi is, I'm seeing friends of mine that are stalwart sequel defenders that do not like Kenobi. And we're going to talk about Kenobi episode 4 next Wednesday afternoon. We're going to start at an earlier time next week, so that I can go see a movie. But basically, it's no comparison. I think Obi-Wan is I think it's a colossal disappointment. I think it's amateurish. I think story-wise, it's a disaster. You can't even compare season 3 of The Boys to Kenobi. We'll discuss Kenobi and kind of how the last 3 episodes play out. I mean, we're already like halfway through the Kenobi, and it's just like people are like this. And the fact that they're, hiding behind a so-called racist fan base as a way to inoculate any criticism of the show is very telling. And my
only comparison, the only reason I compare it is in the sense of, this is how you write a television series. This is how you go episode to episode.
Yeah, this is good writing, but let's talk about it. So season 1 of The Boys really built the world, right? We met Butcher, we met the boys, we met Huey, played by Jack Quaid, and I fell in love with those characters. They're great. And what the show is about, what the show is essentially about, it's about hypocrisy in Hollywood. You could even say politics also. It's about what we see that's in front of us, these glorious, amazing, virtuous superheroes, or celebrities or politicians in real life. Behind the scenes, they're all assholes. They're assholes, drug fiends, sex obsessed, and freaks, and they're horrible, horrible human beings who literally get away with murder. And the first season really built the world. I love the first season. The second season, I was not as big a fan of. The second season, for the first 4 episodes, the boys aren't even together. It takes 4 episodes to finally get the boys to kind of reunite on their mission, which we already know they're going to do at some point, right? In addition, I felt what the second season did is the second season really sort of laid criticism towards one side of the political aisle. And what I'm happy to report in season 3 of The Boys is it doesn't do that. What it does is it makes fun of everybody. It mocks the left, it mocks the right, and I love it. I feel like that's the way it should be anyways. It's like, let's mock, and there's so much to mock and make fun of, right? And let's make fun of lies and hypocrisy that we see that are right in front of us, coming from both sides of the political aisle. And the whole thing is, it just makes fun of everything. I'm not saying that the show is overtly political. I mean, politics is woven into it, but in a way that's not lecturing. It's not one side particularly. It just mocks everything, and that I love. And also, I watched more than the first 3 episodes. I actually binged, and that's why it got blurry for me, because I'm like, well, wait, which episode did that happen in? And I've only seen it once. I'm up to like about 6.5 episodes in. Well, let's just say everything escalates about it. Everything escalates.
Yeah.
But let's talk about episode 1 first. And I'm just going to assume we're in spoiler territory. I'm just going to assume everybody's seen it, right? So we have a little, this is your spoiler warning right here. We're going to get into spoilers for at least the first 3 episodes. And I'll give you a tease of some of the things that happen in upcoming episodes. I'm just telling you that my general impression is I believe that they looked at reaction to season 2, which was mixed, especially coming off of the fact that season 1's reaction was wildly positive. And by the way, I am a fan of the show. I love this show so much so that it was a couple years ago they did this pop-up in Los Angeles. What's a pop-up? A pop-up is an activation where what they do is it's for anybody. You can register online. They've done them for a bunch of different movies, and it's basically a way to kind of sell you the movie and give you free stuff, and anybody can sign up. You kind of go on and what they're hoping is that you'll post about it on social media. I don't remember if I actually posted about it, but it was great. We got like free burgers and fries from the Planet Vought. See, check it out. It says Planet Vought, and I kept the cup, which is a plastic cup from the Planet Vought burgers that we got. And Planet Vought is sort of like Planet Hollywood. And then we all got these magazines. It was Vought Weekly, and it's basically like a variety. And so, of course, you've got Homelander there and Butcher on this side, and it's like a fake magazine from the universe of The Boys, and it's awesome. So this was the menu that we got. And again, this was just like something open to the public that anybody could do. And I was like, we gotta go. And went with a couple. I went with Dante and Walter Arias from Filmmaking.
That was pre-pandemic, wasn't it?
No, I think it was in the middle of it. If I remember, was it pre?
When we opened just for a moment.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, like remember that 2 weeks? That was awesome. Sort of reminds me of the few weeks where Elon Musk, like, it looked like he was going to buy Twitter, and it, like, I don't even know now. It just seems like it's just completely up in the air. But there was a moment where people felt free to kind of like speak their mind on Twitter. That was a great 2 weeks, everybody. That was awesome. That was an awesome 2 weeks. Who knows what's happening with that? I'm not going to dwell on it. But let's talk about the first episode. What I loved about it was it sort of mocked everything in the superhero genre, including Zack Snyder's a dawn of the whole Zack Snyderverse, the Snyderverse campaign to get his Snyder cut out. Right in the beginning, right? There's a movie that's like, what's the name of the movie? It's like
it's something the Seven.
Dawn of the Seven or something.
And am I going nuts? But this is an actual movie coming out, isn't it? Or have I been fooled?
It's the fake movie within the movie where the characters actually play themselves in the movie. They even talk about doing reshoots. It's like totally opens with like it, and it looks, even in color wise, the way it opens in this sort of apocalyptic view of a city, and then you see the heroes kind of facing off. And it's totally a comment on the Snyderverse. It's great. And it's great. It nails it, talks about fandom. And then of course we get into this after party where Termite, which is basically Ant-Man, but they call him Termite, does the Ant-Man, there was this theory of like, why doesn't Ant-Man just kill Thanos by going up Thanos's butt and then just growing and killing Thanos? And they did it in this.
It worked. It would have worked.
It would have worked. We see Termite go up. He's about to be intimate with some dude because all these superheroes are freaks, right? They're just into whatever, illicit sex. And Termite goes up this guy's ass and then kind of sneezes and then just grows and murders him. And it's like no big deal.
Yeah. And I like the fight afterwards where they're trying to keep him from going up other butts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh my God. It's just, I mean, and like the thing is this, I'm actually squeamish when it comes to a lot of gore. I am, except when it comes to The Boys, the gore is so over the top and so like cartoonish and ridiculous that it's funny, and I don't know, I'm not as turned off by the gore.
But it's yeah, I mean, it is graphic. That I mean, it's you. I just the problem is it just that image just stays with you for days, if not weeks and months.
Yes, it does, and I love it. But then we get into God, was it episode 2? So we'll just sort of talk through this stuff briefly. I love it because you see like sort of like last season, except they did it for too long. The boys are kind of all gone their separate ways, right? You know, and there's sort of this detente between Butcher and Homelander, and you know, Huey is working at this Federal Bureau for Superhero, what is it, FBSA or something like that?
Yeah, activity or something.
Yeah. So it's like, you know, they're like, you know, who watches the Watchmen? Well, this bureau watches them, right? And what I do like is that they just got the boys back together quicker, you know, within the first 3 episodes. I think it's like by episode 3, they're kind of like, we got to get back together, because doing this the right way isn't working. You know, there's just too much red tape, too much BS. But what I also loved I wrote this note, episode 2. And this is where I'm really glad that the show did this. You see like this scene that takes place at Inclusive Kingdom, which totally makes fun. There's like rainbows everywhere, and kids are effectively being like, you know, indoctrinated into all this stuff. You see, there's like, you could get BLM, BLTs. There was like, I mean, it was just like, it was hysterical. Like just sort of making fun of like how there'll be some sort of cause and it's immediately co-opted and corporatized. And that's also what The Boys is about. It's not just about Hollywood culture and what hypocrisy there is based on what we see in front of our eyes about who celebrities are or who politicians are. Behind the scenes, they're horrible human beings. And I would say that's probably true in real life. It's probably true in real life that these people are all horrible human beings and need to be exposed. And that's what The Boys is about. That's what the boys are attempting to do, is expose the lies, the hypocrisy, the fact that these people are horrible murderers getting away with all of this stuff. And this Inclusive Kingdom thing is so funny. It just like, I don't know, it just struck me as like, yes, this is what season 2 needed more of, is more like just mock everybody.
Yeah, more of a balance.
And then also it's about corporate culture too, because you see, it's so funny. Ashley, who's like, you know, works directly with Homelander, and she's moving up the corporate ranks at Vought. You know, Ashley gets an assistant named Ashley, which sounds totally like something like that would happen in Hollywood. Like Ashley's assistant is named Ashley, which I found really hilarious. And I love that, like, there's the big thread through this whole thing is a character named Soulja Boy. And it kind of, because I watched like the first 6.5 episodes, it might have blurred to me.
Yeah, you are blurring things.
But Soulja Boy is effectively like Captain America, right? And he's thought dead. Okay. And I'll give you a little tease, and it shouldn't surprise anybody. He's not dead. He's been on ice, so to speak, for quite some time. But when he finally, his character comes back, this is just all I'll say about future episodes, so this is spoilery for future stuff. When he comes back, it's definitely like a Cobra Kai type of thing, where he's like from the 80s, you know, and this is how you would talk to a woman. And it is so awesome. It's so awesome because it's just a comment on how the culture is so effed up right now. So Soulja Boy being this hero from the 80s, you know, fighting in foreign wars with this sort of offshoot group, sort of, you know, sort of pre-7. He's uncouth in all the best ways that make you love this character, because he's from the 80s, you know, when things were a bit more defined, right, in terms of common sense. And so his character is it's great. I mean, he's definitely sort of got those Johnny Lawrence like vibes. But also what's interesting is you see this other thread that now the boys can have superpowers. Vought develops this serum that gives you superpowers for about 24 hours, right? Is how long you get these superpowers. And the whole intention behind it is that we're going to get rid of superheroes. Superheroes are a pain in the ass to deal with. What we want to do is super soldiers. Superheroes have screwed up the world, right? They're a pain in the ass to deal with. It's like dealing with children. And there's this whole speech about what a pain in the ass superheroes are to deal with. And I'm thinking, oh my God, they're talking about Hollywood actors. They're not really, if you look at a lot of the things that are said in the show beneath the surface, it's not about superheroes. Put the idea of this being about superheroes out of your head. It's not about superheroes. It's about the entertainment industry. It's about dealing with actors in Hollywood. It's about agents, managers, and corporate culture. It's about all that shit. The superhero is just sort of that's what's being put in front of your face. But it's all commenting on corporate culture, movie studios, and how they screw things up, and just dealing with pain in the ass actors who have drug addiction, sex addiction, and get themselves into horrible trouble, and they've constantly got to be saved. So they want to get rid of superheroes, and by coming up with this VOT, it works for 24 hours. Hey, you give a 30-day supply to a soldier that's going to go fight in some war, and then by the time you're done with the war, you don't have to worry about the soldiers still having these superpowers. They go away, they fade. And so there becomes this sort of inner corporate battle between the superheroes and the corporation about like, well, we don't really need you. We've got this new serum. And of course the boys get some of this serum to use and to kind of even the fight, which makes things really interesting. Alan, what were your sort of, I'm giving you sort of a general, I don't like to do like a complete story breakdown because I think that I just like to give you impressions of like, here are the things that I really liked about it. I will say this, I liked a lot more that I've seen so far of this season than last season, which I think went down this road where it was, I just didn't like the road that it went down. Alan, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'll only add, I think the theme, at least what I saw in the first episode, I think the overarching theme of the series is about power, and and how it corrupts people. Absolute power corrupts, absolute power corrupts, absolutely. You have what's the name of the girl, the co-leader of the superheroes again? She's dating Huey.
Starlight.
Yeah, Starlight. So they Starlight and Homelander are now co-captains of our hero team, and so there's now he has to share power, and then I guess let's see who. I'm sorry, I'm getting I don't know the characters completely well, but
A-Train has like a really cool thing where he's like, he's sort of being told that he's kind of a sellout.
Yeah,
he's not like down with his roots, right? And wants to do this show like the A-Train to Africa, which would be like a docu-series starring A-Train. He sort of rebrands. He's going through a rebranding. So he takes his classic outfit and puts it with sort of African themed like colors. And he's just trying to, but people in the African American community are totally calling him a sellout. Like, dude, you're a sellout. Which that whole thing is really funny. Like it's just, it comments on it's commenting on so many things happening now in the culture that you can't really say, that this is sort of one side or the other. It's just making fun of everything. And I love that.
Yeah. And then with this pill now, you're giving people just a taste of what it's like to have a superpower. And I think when when Butcher finally gets, it's in the trailer. So when Butcher finally gets a hold of the pill, it'll be interesting to see how he changes or how he deals with this newfound but yet brief moment of having superpowers, having abilities.
Well, let's get to our comments in the chat because people have seen this. So we have Flaccid Phoenix. He's modding today as I hope he continues. But Flaccid Phoenix, shout out to him. Subscribe to his channel. He's in the chat giving us the best comments. Let's go through some comments here. Patrick Lemire says, Amazon Prime is interesting. They're doing that horrid Rings of Power. They've done really great things, such as well as Reacher, Bosch, The Boys, Invincible. I agree. I think the thing is this, like, you can't blame Amazon Prime is like, that's the service, whatever. You can't even blame Jeff Bezos. they're collecting IP. What I like about The Boys is just how original it feels. I think for me, it speaks to my superhero fatigue. I'm kind of not super pleased with the direction of Marvel, and I think that Marvel's best days are behind it. What I like about The Boys is it mocks everything and mocks that, and it's like it's made me like superheroes again, or at least the people who fight superheroes. Cardinal Sin for $1.99. Thank you for that. Hey Chris, good to see you, my friend. Yes, I will be seeing you soon, and I just subscribed to your channel. Subscribe to Cardinal Sin. He just passed 1,000 subs. Congratulations, Cardinal Sin, on that. I am also a subscriber to your channel. He's got some great guests coming up. Shelby AC, thank God it's Film Threat. Yes. Oh my God. Thank God it's Film Threat. It is. It's Friday. Eric Jimenez says, hey, Chris. Hey, Alan. Morbius has returned to theaters. You know what that means? It's Morbin time. I don't know if is it Morbin time? I don't know, Eric, but thank you for that comment.
Why are they bringing back to theaters? That's the other question.
Another $1.99 from Cardinal said, hey, Alan Ing is here. Good to see you, buddy. And Goober says, I have RRR fatigue and I haven't seen it yet. Why am I talking about this movie so much? And I'm going to talk about it for another 20 seconds because you need to see it so we can talk about it. Because so few people have seen it. It's on Netflix. There's no excuse not to have seen it. I'm not sure if it's out on digital, but it's in theaters. They keep re-releasing it because people keep showing up. It's built a fan base, and basically what this movie does, what you're going to feel when you see the movie is, why isn't Hollywood making a movie this good? If filmmakers in India can make these big blockbusters that are now appealing on a broad level outside of India, what does that say about American cinema? We've had conversations about this before, Alan, you and I, about how I believe that American cinema is dead because Top Gun is kind of an exception to that. But what's interesting about this film also is the film is proud of Indian heritage, proudly on display. It's a very patriotic movie that you can get caught up in. And we'll have another conversation about RRR later. I'm going to stop talking about it. But it's a very pro 2A movie. Go see RRR. When enough people have seen it, I want everyone in the chat, go see RRR, watch it on Netflix, go see it in a theater. We'll talk about the underlying messages in RRR. Shelby AC says, the boys RRR back. I love that. Latino Slant says, I am loving Kenobi. I love what a jokester Paulie is. He loves to joke around. Paulie, we'll talk. He's going to be at the screening. I'm seeing RRR at the AMC at the Grove on Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific time. I will be there.
I will be there too.
You're going to be there too. Well, we're going to be doing Hollywood on the Rocks earlier in the day so that you and I can go see movies.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll be at the Grove when we do it, so I don't know if you'll be there either.
No, we're going to start it earlier. Did you hear what I said?
I mean, how much of it? You said 4 before.
Let's make it 2.
2, okay.
We'll do it in the afternoon. Figure it out. Okay. I hope there's a 10-year-old to boss Homelander around, says Zax. That's great. So Zax, really great point. You're obviously referring to The Adventures of Young Leia, which is on Disney Plus right now. I don't know if you've seen that show. Oh, sorry, they're calling it Obi-Wan Kenobi, but it's The Adventures of Young Leia, and it's a Disney Channel show. But yeah, there's none of that shit. It's none of that in this. There's none of the things that you kind of just see constantly. You can just sort of like a deep sigh, this is what they're doing again. It's like, oh, strong female lead, whatever. It makes fun of that. Even in season 2, they did that. Like they made fun of what was it? The thing that they had this campaign, girls can rock, women rock. And it was all about the women of the 7. And they did this whole campaign about how women rock. It makes fun of stuff like that. So Zax, none of that. Film Threat Sucks says, I love the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. People are trolling us now. Eric Jimenez says, season 2 was confusing. Why do they have all the commentary about Hollywood virtue signaling coming from the mouth of a Nazi, especially when it's clear we're supposed to agree with it? Yeah, none of that is in this. In fact, I'm not sure if there's this whole thing that's it's like The Bachelor, but they're trying to cast, get new people to be in new superheroes to be in the 7, and they do it via this TV show that's basically a ripoff of The Bachelor. It's pretty hilarious. And Homelander goes on this whole rant about cancel culture, and just
Yeah, he
sort
goes
of,
on an apology tour for having dated the Nazi, so to speak.
well, there's that, but like later, I'm talking about like episode 2, 3, 4. He just he loses it on TV and just like does this rant on live TV, and they're like so upset, like, oh my god. And then it's like his popularity goes up because he pushes back against cancel culture. So I really, what I like about season 3 is, you're right, Eric. Season 2 was confusing, and season 3, what I like about it is I feel like it's criticizing everything in the culture. That's what The Boys season 3 is doing, everything, you know, and it totally works. Patrick Lemire says The Boys is like a comedy, less deep Watchmen. That's true, and I like it. Look, it does make social commentary, but in a way that's comedic, in a way that you see how ridiculous it is, like selling BLM, BLTs at Inclusive Kingdom. I think that's hilarious. So yeah. I'm back on board with The Boys. Season 2 was just, I think a lot of people felt very mixed about it. Cosmo James says, good to hear about The Boys season 3. I'll wait until the season is over before I jump on it because I've been fooled before. That's fine, Cosmo Jones. I respect that you feel that way, but I'm gonna say I'm all in. I feel like what it's building, it's gonna make fun of everything. It's making fun of, and you're gonna want to see it before like the termite stuff gets out. There's some other like crazy deaths.
I mean, you've almost finished the whole series, or
no? I'm like I said, 6.5 episodes, so 7. I think I don't know. I just kept clicking, but
right. So you're deep into it. So
yeah. But they even talk about like, you know, that we have to do a diversity hire. They actually make fun of that. Like during it's just like, oh, they're like trying to figure out who, because it's all like rigged, right? The show, this sort of Bachelor show. They're all like, oh, who do we put in? It's like, oh, do we have to do it? Like we have to do this diversity hire. Like they're all sort of like annoyed by it. So it's like calling stuff out that we know happens, but because those conversations do happen in Hollywood, and they're just having that conversation. What am I doing? I'm knocking stuff over here. So I think Cosmo, I would say give it a chance. It's been really good so far. A lot of great moments. Film Threat Sucks says Elon Musk needs to buy Film Threat. And super chats here. Mayday Sadat for $4.99. Read the entire series and loving the show despite the changes to the material. Loving Film Threat 2. Thank you guys for doing what you do. Well, thank you, Mayday Sadat, for $4.99. Thank you. Yeah, I will say this. It does stray from what I know happens in the comics, right? It uses ideas that are in the comics, but it's strayed quite a bit. Akanika says, Alan squeamish? Latino Slant says, gore on gore. Yes, there you go, Paulie. Thanks for that. Eric Jimenez, it wasn't the butt. It was the front. It was so nasty. I couldn't stop screaming through the whole thing.
I thought he moved toward the butt.
Yes.
Because he was supposed to massage the prostate. And
Yes. Yeah, I thought he went up his butt, right?
Yeah,
like,
that's what I thought.
Extreme close-up. Yeah, no, or maybe he went up the dick. I don't know.
I know there's talk of that, but I thought he ultimately got to the butt.
Patrick Lemire, come on, Chris's name is Gore. How can he not love it? I do love it. Flaccid Phoenix says, Chris has annual passes for Inclusive Kingdom. Yes, I'm an Inclusive Kingdom annual pass holder. CD Stein 69 says exactly with the narrative of the show that corporations are just playing both sides with tons of money just to get what they want for more power and money. 100%. And the show comments on that. And that's why I love it. Daniel says that makes so much sense. Hollywood celebs are entitled and spoiled, but also rich and powerful. Soon we will see if they can literally get away with killing camera women on set. Oh, that's true. Reference to Alec Baldwin there. And Andre Villafranca responds, I'd love to hear your thoughts on some manga. There are tons of amazing stories, characters, and artwork that I think you'd love. I strongly recommend you Berserk by Mura Kantaro. Sounds good. Yes, I have been watching more manga. I recently watched and recommend, and it's sitting right here. This was just in theaters. You can see it in IMAX Bell, which is a fantastic anime, and recommend it. Manga, I don't read as much as I used to, but I will say when it comes to this Belle is
Yeah.
fantastic. Strong recommend on Belle. Just got the Blu-ray.
I like that it pays homage to Disney back in the time when we loved Disney.
Right. And now it's like, fuck Disney.
Yeah.
Guile Quint says, 1, Snyder Cut fans jab. 2, NRA jab. Butch would be pro guns, no sense. 3, white men are Nazi again. 4, U.S. government sent drugs to black communities, racist. 5, black and Arab soups rejected, racist. No, I like that it's what the show is doing is commenting on all these things. I don't know that it's necessarily taking a side per se. All of this is like in the culture, and I think it's worth commenting on. I don't know that the show definitively says, like the Snyder Cut, it's just sort of commenting on it. You know, it's like, and I like that it did it. I don't see this necessarily as an attack on those things. I think it's a comment on these are things that are happening, and we're going to comment on it in the show, and we're going to try to do it in a fun way.
I mean, I have to say, I appreciate anything that will poke fun at things that you shouldn't poke fun at, or that society tells you. I mean, we haven't yet talked about the Ricky Gervais special, but
we need to.
It's highly offensive, but there's just the fact that he'll make fun of everyone and everything, and every subject that you shouldn't do, that you shouldn't make fun of, is the only reason why I love it.
All right, let's get through these comments because we're coming up on our first guest at 10 a.m. here, top of the hour. Van Vidal says, watched RR today, 10 out of 10. Jade Scott for 20. Thank you so much for that super chat. Great to meet you at RRR, which was great. Oh, I met you. Keep fighting the woke. There's definitely a lot to mock. Maybe next time I'll buy you a beer and tell you a story about Sean Penn and COVID. Oh, that's great. Jade Scott. He may have been the guy, not going to call you out, very tall gentleman. And we had a chat. He said, the reason I'm here is because of you, because you've been talking about this movie, and we saw it at the Pasadena Lemley and met up like sort of like at the intermission, which was great. Well, thank you. Derek Douglas, Carl Urban is the Michael Biehn of the 21st century. How did that man not become famous? I like that he's not famous. He's an actor. Patrick Lemire, Bait and Switch Plus. Yeah, that's Disney. Horny Alf, I watched all 3 episodes. There was a few woke cringe comments, but I enjoyed the show. Homelander's spiral into crazy is riveting. Yeah, it gets way worse. It gets awesome. And the whole thing is this, the woke, it's supposed to make you cringe. You know what? Inclusive Kingdom made me cringe. It's like, yeah, because it's too real. Inclusive Kingdom sounds like something that's happening. You know, you can go to Disneyland now and you can get rainbow Mickey Mouse ears. Right? How is that different than what I think? What I love is this is a satire of our current culture and includes everything. And if you only make fun of one side, I don't think that that's fair. I think you make fun of everything that's in the culture right now. So yeah, I think it's supposed to make you cringe and laugh. I would just laugh at that stuff because I know they're not serious. I know they're fucking around. And plus, I do want a BLM BLT because who doesn't love a delicious BLT? Jack D. Ripper, if both sides get offended by it, they're doing their job. Exactly, yeah. Jack D. Ripper. Exactly. That's the whole point, is it needs to offend both sides. And last season, they did not do that. They specifically were more mocking one side. And I think that they must have heard that note. So interesting. Turo, how many rooms does Alan have? Jesus, Alan, you're in this great hotel. Solomon Thornton says The Boys is the Blazing Saddles for wokeness. That's a fair comment. I think that's a fair comment, Solomon. I love it. Team Smash AU. Chris, nobody's talking about Raised by Wolves. That show is great. I have not seen it, Raised by Wolves, but it sounds like I should. Eric Jimenez, Inclusive Kingdom is exactly the type of commentary we need during Pride Month. Nothing more disgusting than giant corpos virtue signaling for money. True. Like the fact that this comes out like right during Pride Month. I don't know. I remember when it was a weekend in the 90s. It was sort of like a weekend. Like, oh, cool. Like Pride weekend. Like, oh, that sounds like all my gay friends are going to go to Pride weekend and like have fun at the parade. Enjoy your assless chaps. Have a great time. I'm not going to be there, but it's have fun. But I support it. Have fun. But now it's like this whole like it's being pushed so much, and I feel like the comment on The Boys is great. It's awesome. CD Stein 69 says the termite death scene brought a new perspective to the Brody hamster story from Mallrats. True. And CD Stein 69 goes on to say, if RR had just a little bit more of a budget, it have probably been example of a perfect movie. CGI effects just need a little cleanup, but otherwise fantastic. Also, The Northman on Peacock. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. The Northman like really made it like right there. I mean, I bought it because there's a ton of extras, but yeah, it's on Peacock. So wow. There you go. And I will say this on RRR, for me, it's also the experience like being physically in a theater with a ton of people. And Derek Douglas says, Chris is nice sometimes. Let it rip more, Chris. Look, I'm well, how am I nice? Look, when I like something, I'm very passionate about it. When I don't like something, I'm very passionate about it. So, and Kenobi is an example of, I just think the Star Wars franchise is dead to me. It's sort of like, this was the last thing I was kind of interested in because it's like, oh, there are kind of a lot of loose ends at Revenge of the Sith. Let's see how they bridge, Revenge of the Sith to A New Hope. How do they bridge that? Is there an untold story there? And there is, but Lucasfilm is not doing a good job telling it. I think it's fan film. Full Metal Cowboy says, I really enjoyed Belle, had some nitpicks, but I liked it. Yeah, I really wish I'd seen it in the theater. It was in IMAX and didn't get to see it. Didn't get to see it in IMAX. I somehow missed it, got the Blu-ray and loved it. Let's although we're going to get some comments, I know more about The Boys season 3. I'll just say this. I recommend it. I like where it's going. Let me check my notes here. There is okay, I'll just give you a quick tease. There is a dildo fight, and this is a real thing. You can look up. They made Marvel's Avengers, and it's totally unlicensed. They made Marvel's Avengers dildos. And if you look up any name of any Avenger and then the word dildo, they made one. This is real, okay? So there is a dildo fight in episode 4. So I'm going to give you a little tease of what you're going to see next week. Episode 4, there is a dildo fight with dildos based on members of the Seven. And that's all I'll say. But Death by Dildo, hashtag Death by Dildo is what we're all going to be talking about for episode 4. So we'll kind of check in on The Boys. We'll probably do like a mid check-in and then maybe, we'll talk about the finale. We're not going to do it like every week. We will be talking about Kenobi every week because, well, there's only 3 episodes left. So we may as well discuss it. And also what we're doing, I thought about an idea. I want to hear what the chat thinks about this idea because I was sitting here just sort of looking at the state of Star Wars and I saw a friend of mine that he loves the sequels. He is a defender of the sequels and he loves everything Lucasfilm does. And he finally broke. This friend of mine, I'm not going to name him, but this friend of mine broke and wrote an Instagram post like he just thought Kenobi was garbage and like a fan film. And this is an old school fan like myself. Did not like it. Did not like Kenobi. And I thought about this. I thought we should do a trial, the trial of Lucasfilm. People love trials. I was going through everything that Lucasfilm has done that has alienated fans, every sort of brought charges to bring against Lucasfilm. And I want it to be like an event that we do. And I want it to go like 6-8 hours. And I want to have different people come in to present their case. And I want to put Lucasfilm / Kathleen Kennedy on trial and talk about, are we going to charge her with the death of Star Wars? So what do we think of like the death of Star Wars? Basically charging the people that are currently shepherding the franchise with the murder of the franchise. Does anyone think this is there is a movie called The People versus George Lucas. Should this be The People versus Lucasfilm, says Flaccid Phoenix? I agree. That's good. But literally put on a mock trial and each charge you bring someone on. So you have someone defending, but then you bring someone on to explain what the charge is and what Lucasfilm did or what the movies did. And then try to like explain it away. And basically what we're doing is going through and talking about the murder of Star Wars, the franchise. Dempsey says, get the panel of 12 angry men. Dempsey goes on to say, trial is an amazing idea. Do you like that? Do you like that? VDR says, the old school fan that Chris is talking about is George Lucas. No, not really. Sahil for £5. Pounds. Chris, since you saw RRR, I highly recommend you see a film called 3 Idiots, the best Indian movie made in the last 40 years, in my opinion. Love the content. Thank you for the recommendation, 3 Idiots. I've been working my way through like different different like Indian films. I saw KGF Chapter 2. I started watching Bahubali. Yeah, thank you for that. And thank you for the 5. Much appreciated. VDR goes, don't hire Amber Heard's lawyers. Yeah, Derek Douglas, 12 angry fans. And then Chet's mom for a 3-day event with lawyers and charts and sentencing. Oh, should we do it, Alan? Okay. Flash Phoenix, let's do the trial. We're putting on trial for the murder of Star Wars. And we're going to do it after the Kenobi series runs, where it'll be a 3-day event. We're going to go on every day. We're going to bring on different people to argue points. And then did Lucasfilm, the current Lucasfilm, murder Star Wars? We're doing it. It's going to be a 3-day event. And we're going to do it Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And I was listing them in my head. Like, God, I can't believe they did this. Like, I can't believe Lucasfilm did this. And we'll present graphics and we'll show tweets. Oh my God.
Yeah, and we'll need witnesses, obviously.
We'll need witnesses. Derek Douglas, can we build some gallows? Yeah, that would be fun. Yeah, no, I like this. Chet's mom 4. Great idea. Okay, Flaccid, we're gonna do it. We'll promote it on social media as like this event, and we're putting Lucasfilm on trial for the murder of Star Wars. Lucasfilm is on trial for the murder of Star Wars. We're doing it. And I'll bring on guests. To argue certain points. So they'll be on for like, a little bit. Yeah. A jury of your peers. Yes, says Chet's mom. Film threat court. Yeah, let's do it. Solomon Thornton, spoiler for the trial, guilt for the death of Star Wars. Yeah, that'll be great. And let's see, Daniel for $20, 10-hour road trip to see RRR and loved it. Oh, I saw you on social media. 1, American Revolution parallels. 2, 2A. This movie, RRR, is so pro Second Amendment, because the whole thing is that it's set in the British occupied India of the 1920s. Right. So it feels kind of like Raiders of the Lost Ark, very sweeping, epic, whatever. But the whole thing is that the British all have guns. There's even this whole speech about the value of a bullet, and that as they're referred to in the movie, this brown rubbish is not worth the price of this bullet, which costs £1. Right. It's so, yeah. Number 3, men are men and women are women. Exactly. 4, remember muscles. 5, brotherhood. The new Frodo and Samwise friendship. 6, femininity. And 7, cherish your heritage. I hope, Daniel, yes, I'm so glad you did that. Thank you for the $20. 10-hour road trip, totally worth it. And I know I keep bringing it up, but you got to see it. But yeah, and the thing is people are cheering this. And I saw there were a lot of hipsters, and I'm like, you realize this is like a very pro-gun movie. And one of the characters you see as a kid, and his father is teaching him the value of what this gun represents. It represents our ability to be free. And there's a mission, and also it's so great. I'm getting chills talking about it, but yeah.
No, I mean, the literal message midway through is everybody gets a gun.
Everybody gets a gun. So there you go. Easy Tiger says, do it. Great idea. Again, from Gore. We're doing it. Film Court. We'll do a special logo. It'll be a special event. And we're going to put Lucasfilm on trial for the death of Star Wars. So Gina Carano, Derek Douglas says, yeah, Gina Carano will be a part of it. I'll even see, maybe I'm going to reach out to her and see if she'll be on it, or at least make a statement. We could have one of those videos we play of her giving her deposition. Could be good. Not the Batman says, make Disney a co-conspirator in that trial as well. Yeah, it'll be okay. Paul's NYC. Chris, that is a great idea. You should also do the same with Lord of the Rings with Gary after that Dune series comes out. Do that with many IPs, Terminator, Star Trek, MCU. I think what we have is we have a new show, and you helped me come up with it. So thank you. Yeah. The whole idea, I was sitting there last night and I'm reading my friend's Instagram post, and he's sad, okay, I admit it, Star Wars sucks now. And he was the biggest defender up until now. And I'm like, Obi-Wan broke him. Jeff Brooks says, sorry I'm late, but I'm here. I was watching Logan's Run for the first time. Oh my God, Jeff, that is funny. We'll have to talk about that. You can always watch the replay. We keep the replays up. Eric Jimenez says, Films represents To Kill a Mockingbird, a Star Wars story. Horny Elf, Chris, if you like anime, check out Robotech. It's an older anime from the 80s. I'm well familiar with Robotech. But it's an awesome story, and all its episodes are available on YouTube. Experts agree. Who will argue for the defense? Exactly. Who's going to argue for the defense? We'll talk about that. The Sound of One Man Laughing, that's a great speech, but there are scenes where the British put aside their Scottish frugality and do use a bullet or two. Yes, that's true. They do use bullets in it. I will say this, RR is incredibly violent. Incredibly violent. What I loved about it is how influenced it was by like graphic novels. It felt very much like a comic book. Grace Randolph, we can invite her on to defend Star Wars. Please get drunk 3PO on the case. Exactly. We're going to bring people on. Flash of Phoenix, we're going to talk about this like after this because we have to get this scheduled because this is a good idea. I want to do this. I want to build it up as a special film threat event, and it's going to be long, just like a court case, just like a trial. Maybe I'll wear a robe. Maybe I'll wear like a juror's robe. Jeff Brooks, of course, YouTube did not notify me about the stream. Sorry about that. Hey, it's always 9 a.m. It's always 9 a.m. You can watch the replay, Jeff. All good. VDR, Chris is divorcing from Star Wars and he's taking them to court for custody of his children. That's funny. We have a special guest coming up at the top of the hour. We have joining us is Frank and Penelope, actor and director Sean Patrick Flannery will be here momentarily. But until that happens, Alan, let's talk about some indie films before we get to that. There's a couple indie movies that opened today. Let's talk about Scarface. You saw Scarface, which is a movie about competitive eating. What did you think of it?
It's a documentary about competitive eating, but it's not what you think it is. It's not really about competitive eating, but it's really about the seedy underbelly of competitive eating. For a long time, it focuses on the Nathan's hot dog eating contest, and and there's a Japanese champion who had won for like 7 years in a row, and he gets defeated by an American, Joey Chestnut. And what happens with I think it's Kobayashi, that's the name of the Japanese competitor. George Shea, who runs the Major League Eating franchise, he wanted a piece of Kobayashi's endorsement deals, and when he refused, he banned Kobayashi from ever competing again in one of his events. And you see what happens is that with Major League Eating, George Shea just began to take full control over it, controlling everything about it. He approves all of the all the news coverage of it. He approves the people who enter it. They have to sign deals with him, exclusive deals. He takes their money, but he promises them fame and fortune. I think Joey Chestnut is still part of it, and he seems to be breaking the record every year unofficially. I would also call George Shea kind of the P.T. Barnum of eating competitions. But the interesting thing is I think this is a story that really exposes it, because when I went to research Nathan's hot dog eating contest and Major League Eating, which gets ESPN coverage, for crying out loud, no one ever talks about George Shea and the shenanigans that goes on in the background, and the fact that some competitors have died from eating related, basically they didn't prep well and they wound up dying. And it just, this is an expose, if anything, and not a documentary about eating competitions. And I think if you like conspiracies, if you like to find the dark side of things, this is a great movie to watch.
Yeah, I've only seen the trailer, and it looks funny, but also there's like this dark underbelly that gets explored. So I don't know. I love any documentary that's about something competitive, like Hands on a Hard Body, which is an old school. Hands on a Hard Body is a documentary from, God, I want to say, is it the 90s, 80s? Anyways, it kind of started the trend of competition documentaries and even shows, TV shows like Survivor, because Hands on a Hard Body is about it's about this car dealership in Texas where they give away a truck once a year, and it's this big event. And the only rule is you just have to keep your hands on the truck, and the last person to keep their hands on the truck wins. You do get bathroom breaks and breaks to eat, but you have to like keep your hands and stand and just like stand on the truck. And the last person standing gets to keep the truck, and it documents this. So any documentary like Scarface, and also I love, you can see kind of the poster here. If you saw the beginning of the show, you saw the poster, and it's sort of a take on Scarface. It looks really fun. Let's see. We've got a little bit of time for some super chat here from Derek Douglas. Great show, Chris and Alan. I have to leave now. 4 kids and 4 different basketball games tomorrow. Wow. That's great. That's awesome. Have fun. That Star Wars trial sounds great. Good night, all. Hail Film Threat. Yes,
thank you, Derek.
We will be putting Star Wars on trial, and we may even go through other franchises. Jaime Ruiz says, defense. You say that the current era Star Wars killed the series, but I would say the fandom forced Lucas to abort it. Disney/current Star Wars has been trying to revive it. Shelby AC says, whoa, there's a hot dog mafia? CD Stein 69 says, something you don't hear often, seedy underbelly of competitive eating. Yes. Oh, wait, someone else. Jack D. Ripper, Hands on a Hard Body is great. Yes. It's the movie that started. Why do I not remember like when it's sort of like, I know it was like, I'm pretty sure it was a Sundance movie. But I have to go back and look. Can you look that up, Alan?
Yeah, I'm doing that now.
That's great. Goober says, first you get the hot dogs, then you get the indigestion, then you get the women. Blah blah says, I remember that guy. He was skinny as hell too. That's funny. And then Chet's mom,
it was 1997.
97. Okay, it was 90s. Why do you think 80s? Chet's mom 4. Chris needs a white wig, robe, and gavel. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna do that. Like something infinite main, judge, juror, and executioner. This is when I need a party city close to me, so I can just like go and get a sexy judge costume. That's what I'll be wearing. Easy Tigers. I've been watching YouTube fan films, and oh my, there are some amazing fan films out there. I agree. I'm going to do a reaction recommendations on my channel. Easy Tigers, let us know about that. Let us know about that. Jack D. Ripper says, yay, indie time. Yeah, we always got to sneak in some indies in here. I want to talk about, I don't know that we have time, but I want to talk about Dan Mervish's 18 and a half, which 18 and a half, this is the promo item that Dan is giving out. It's actually a record. Do you remember those, like, these like cheesy records that were on like flimsy? Yeah. Remember that? You get these like cheesy. So he put out this little record, which you can play on a record player to promote his movie 18 and a half. And we're going to have Dan on the show before the end of the month to talk about his movie. It's out in theaters. Check it out. It's about the 18 and a half minutes that was deleted on the Nixon tapes and what may or may not have been said on that 18 minutes. But today we have a special guest joining us on the podcast. We are really happy to have him here today to talk about his movie, Frank and Penelope. And I don't know, does he need an introduction? Sean Patrick Flannery is here on the show. And I want to mention before he comes on, Frank and Penelope is out today in theaters. It is out today, and you need to see it. The trailer is in the description of this episode of the show, so definitely check that out. And welcome to the show, Sean Patrick Flannery. Thank you for being here. Wow, Sean, dang, that is a tank top right there, man.
It's got a little tear going on, but there, how's that? Look at that.
There you go. No, it looks good. It's very manly. Well, thank you for coming on the show. You're in the movie, but you also directed it.
I did. Yeah, I wrote and directed it. And I'm only in the bookends. I mean, I'm in the first, I have 2 lines in the beginning of the movie and 2 lines at the end of the movie. Most of my activity was other side of the camera.
And how does that, this is, my name's Chris Gore, by the way. I don't know if you saw, this is my colleague, Alan Ing.
Hi.
We're going to be asking you questions. Also, we're going to be taking questions from our chat. So if you have a question for Sean, post it in the chat right now. But like, what was it like, sort of like, you know, that's a challenge being in front of and behind the camera.
You know, it actually wasn't. You know, if you stock the crew the correct way, One of the best directors I've ever worked with in 33 years in this business, AJ Raytano. He was my operator and my DP, and I could have left the set and he would have handled it. I mean, I really had some A-team players on pretty much every department, and it makes it easy. Somebody far asked it correctly, you pretty much turn the camera on, let it happen. Well, that can be said for every department. So, stepping on the other side for brief little moments was inconsequential.
I mean, this is your directorial debut. You've been in the business a long time. What was it about this project? I think you even co-wrote it or wrote it. What was it about this project that you wanted to put yourself behind it, so to speak?
Well, Alan Gilmer, the EP, himself and Scott Dolezal, they contacted me about directing, and I've had opportunities to direct in the past, but never with the sort of unbridled creative freedom in the artistry, in the writing, and everything that they were offering with this. And that is incredibly rare. I asked if I could write it from page one. They said absolutely. And we went on a location scout, and I mean, everything I saw, I kind of incorporated it into the script. Like I saw the cistern, I saw the 68 Super B, and we came up with something, and we were always looking in the same direction. It was just an amazing experience. And, all directing opportunities aren't like that. I know those opportunities are unicorns, but, now that I've seen one up close, I want to herd of those things, man.
Well, you're getting a lot of love in the chat. Do you mind if we go to some chat questions from the people watching today?
Man, I would love to go where there's some love. Absolutely.
A lot of love right now. So post more of your questions here. But Goober says Boondock Saints. You're gonna get that. Yeah, exactly. Not the
I don't hate on it. I don't hate on it at all.
No, it's great. Not the Batman. Says Sean Buff Patrick Flannery. There you go. Blah blah says awesome film. So some people have already seen it. Macho Man Sean Flannery says Solomon Thornton. And here we go. Dempsey asks, did your martial arts training help you with the discipline needed for film directing?
Without sounding like a cliche, my martial art helps me in every aspect of life. I mean, that red mat, that when I'm not joking, that red mat is, 50 yards on my property outside back window. It is my sanctuary. It is my therapy. It is my cathedral. It is all of the above. It helps me in every aspect of my life. I would not be the same person without it.
Cool. Another question for you here from Solomon Thornton. Love you in Boondock Saints. What is your process for filmmaking?
Man, you know what? I don't even know what a process is. I'll give you an example. Like in writing, take acting, for example. Everybody talks about the process. And I think every actor wants to make it sound like they had to endure some tormental ordeal to really get the creative juices out of them. Man, I had a wonderful upbringing. I was close with my mom, my dad, my mama, my granddaddy. God bless people that haven't had as wonderful an upbringing, but I did have a lot of trauma in my life. And my research for any role starts at page one and ends at fade out. If I were to play a homeless person, I don't need to go defecate on myself and sleep on the street for a week to get into character. But that's just me. My process for writing, for example, you read some writing books, and you have to make bullet points and then an outline, and they're putting sticky notes everywhere, and there's a process you have to go. There's one incarnation, then a second, then a third. I write by saying the wouldn't it be cool if rule. I start by, wouldn't it be cool if the movie started this way? And I write it. I know that's a fifth grade kind of way, but I just start and I finish. I don't do an outline. I don't do bullet points. That doesn't mean to suggest that I don't do my homework. 100% I do my homework. There's nothing left to chance whenever I arrive on the set. I have the shot list complete. I have a secondary shot list. Should we not be able to realize A? I have a wish list of an A, B, and a C. So if I can't get my A shot list, I at least need B. And at the worst case scenario, I need everything on C. I know the angles I want to shoot, everything. Everybody has their own way of doing it. But I fear my way may be looked at as more, I don't know, less high end, highbrow. I just kind of do it. My writing style is I just start writing, and I don't do the end first and then make it meet somewhere. I don't pay attention to by page 17. You know how you need to have introduced your antagonist. I don't follow any of those rules. Now, having said that, people may see it and go, well, that's why your film sucks. I don't know. But I just know the way that I do it. And it's the only way I can do it. You know, it's the only way that comes natural to me. My granddaddy was, you know, probably one of my favorite storytellers I've ever met. And I loved the way that he painted pictures with his words. And man, if I got 10% of that, then, you know, I'd be flattered.
Let me ask you.
Real quick, couple quick comments here and a good question here. Daniel says, I'm getting jazzed to see this. And then a big question I know everybody's got top of mind. Shadow Fenrir 24 says, Boondock Saints 3 when?
I don't know, man. Stay tuned, brother. Stay tuned.
Okay. All right. Sorry, Alan. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah. There. No, I wanted to ask you about the story. I kind of saw it as kind of a modern noir, but what really struck out to me was someone mentioned in the chat earlier today, but men were men and women were women. You know, I like the portrayal that you have of your characters because they feel like more everyday people who are just trying to struggle and make it through life. What was it about your story that appealed to you and that kind of bloomed into what Frank and Penelope is?
Well, you know, I mean, it is. They are everyday people. They're the type of people that I associate with on a daily basis. They're the type of people that I know. You know, I live in Texas. I don't live out in Hollywood. It's you know, it's the way people meet. Men are visually driven creatures. So I wanted his first attraction to Penelope be primal lust. I didn't want it painted with, you know, eloquent words or anything. I wanted it to be primal lust. And I wanted to see her attraction to him. You know, I'm a firm believer that, you know, men learn to fall in love with the women they find attractive. And I'm a firm believer that these are generalities, but I think that generally speaking, women learn to find attractive the men they fall in love with. So I wanted it to unfold in that manner. You know, through the course of dialogue, she finally realizes, like, that is that guy. It's that guy that I was told about in the storybooks. And all of these rules that I were told, it's that guy right there. And he's sitting right in front of me. But it doesn't hit her, you know, I mean, he's just another person whenever he comes into her life. But being a visually driven creature, you know, the image of her is very different on his psyche.
Cool. Flaccid Phoenix asks, what scene in Frank and Penelope was the most difficult or fun to shoot?
Man, everything in that cistern was difficult. We went on, you know, we went on a location scout, and I started writing it. I wrote the first 38 pages on the first 3-day location scout, and everything that I saw the 68 Dodge Coronet. It's a Super B, man. It's a if you meet a director that can write a script and he sees that at the location, doesn't put in the movie, man, kick him. It was an obvious thing for me. And I saw the cistern. Now this thing has, you know, 15-foot walls. It's a giant concrete obelisk. It's horrific. It's dangerous. It's foreboding. And getting in and out of that thing to shoot was physically a nightmare. And it's in Terlingua, Texas, so it's $115 out. You know, everybody's being threatened with, you know, heat stroke, and it was a task, man. And everything was on a Jenny too. There's nothing you could plug into for an outlet, so we had roll-on generators. It was a difficult for logistic reasons. It was incredibly difficult, but there wasn't anything, you know, hard acting wise. You know, because I think in my opinion, I think I cast it correctly. You know, everybody did their job. We showed up. We had a handful of days of rehearsal beforehand, so everybody was off book. It was it was a breeze. And I've been doing this 33 years. So there are no independent films that go without hiccups. So,
Yeah.
obviously the car broke down. We had to rewrite on the fly, and you have to pivot and adapt instantaneously to get a film made. So did I realize every one of my ideas, secrets, and dreams? Absolutely not. But I'm happy with where we ended up. There's one of the scenes where, the Cadillac drives down a dirt hill. Jonathan Sheck wasn't ready yet, so I jumped. I was driving it, and the car didn't start, so I was coasting it down the dirt road, and we had to add in the motor sound afterwards. So things like that. I mean, that's one example of like, holy shit, that was supposed to be at dusk. We shot it, drove it, and since the car's not on, it's power steering's out, so I had to wrench it just to not go off that dirt road. It was things like that. AJ is like lifting the camera up. He's going, go now, go now, go now. It was just, but we got it. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, we got it.
Here's some more questions or comments for you. Blah, blah says art should have an element of danger to it. And then Not the Batman says, come on, chat. Sean is here. Young Indiana Jones. It's canon. He's Indiana Jones. You must get that a lot.
Well, I appreciate, man. I'm flattered, man. It's for me, Harrison Ford's Indiana Jones. I'm young Indiana Jones, but Harrison Ford's like our last real iconic movie star. Not just famous actor, but Montgomery Clift, Harrison Ford. You know what I mean? It's man, those are shoes I don't want to even try to fill.
What was it like playing an iconic character before the internet was a thing?
Man, well, 36 people saw Young Indiana Jones, and I counted my mom 19 times. So, it was, it's kind of crazy. I was out of the country the entire time filming that, so I never even got to see it on TV. And then it turns out a lot of people didn't even see it. So, I'm proud of that. I wouldn't be, every door that's open to me today was opened ultimately because of Young Indiana Jones. I certainly wouldn't have done anything prior to this that allowed me the opportunity or afforded me the opportunity to direct a movie without Young Indiana Jones. So, dear George Lucas, thank you, sir.
That's great. Another question. Jack D. Ripper, what are you most proud of in your career so far?
I'm going to be real honest with you. Outside of fatherhood, because nothing else is even close to fatherhood. And I don't say that as a Hallmark card. Absolutely nothing is close to my family. So we'll talk about everything outside of that. And it's right over here. I'm just going to reach and grab it. For accomplishments, that I get zero money for that. But if I had to hand something in, I always make an analogy to my jiu-jitsu students. If somebody came to me and said, hey, I'll give you, and I'm making up a lewd dollar figure, and I'm talking about it being real, $500 million in liquid cash. If you give up these 10 films, and with those 10 films, every door that was opened by those films, every relationship, every dollar, I could find 10 films, and I would trade 10 specific films for that suitcase. I would not trade that. And that's not an understatement. Not even with a gun to my head. What it's done for my life and what it allows me to leave behind to my kids, it's one of the things I look back on, and I would be a different human being if they were removed from me. And by that I mean every relationship that I formed under this, every bit of confidence, everything that it did to my life. I would never give that up. I would never in a million years. I would be in strict poverty before I would give that up. Wow. Because with that, it allowed me to pull myself out of poverty. It allowed me to do a lot of things. And I don't say that lightly. But number one, my family. Not even close. Second place is not even close.
Another question here. Daniel says, what's the inspiration to tell this particular story?
I love telling stories, and it came to me. If anybody knows like my writing, my book, or Born a Champion, I have a certain voice and a certain vernacular that I use. I don't tend to write horror genre. But I do love telling stories. So I did my best to convert something that we wanted to shoot and make it a little road trip horror movie, but I turned it into what I would say is an allegorical love story. And my inspiration, it's easy for that because that's what I write. I write love stories. That's what I write. Without sounding too, soft, that's what I write. At the core of this movie, it's a love story. And if it doesn't work between Frank and Penelope, none of the violence works. So that's where my inspiration comes. My inspiration comes from love. It comes from love in everything I do in my life.
Solomon Thornton says, a family man. I salute you. That's great. And then Dempsey has a question here. How much weight does score carry in your film?
Immense. I'll give you an example. When you get a budget, 9 times out of 10, and again, I've been doing this 33 years, so I've seen the way the sausage is made from every single angle. I'm arguably one of the most overqualified first-time directors because I truly am a student of the art. I've asked questions. From Dave Tattersall, who won Academy Awards on Young Indiana Jones. I always want to know, what is that light? How come that's brighter? Oh, it's key light. What does a key light mean? Everything I ask questions. So I did my homework. I didn't want to show up and be directing a set and not know at least a good portion of every single person's job. In the same respect, when I waited tables, and I thought, man, if it doesn't work out, I'm going to manage one of these restaurants. I wanted to know how to expedite. I wanted to know how to run the dishwasher. I wanted to know how to short cook, long cook. I wanted all of that stuff. So having said that, a big part of the budget is usually you spend the budget and then you go and you beg and you plead for music. For me, I wrote this on the location scout and I wrote it to music, and I had a very specific song list. I always listen to music in everything in my life. Everything wonderful in my life has a soundscape. And if you play a song, I can tell you the first time I heard it, if I could smell the chlorophyll and the freshly cut grass in my first football game when I was 6 years old, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I know what it does to me. So I went with the budget, and I talked to, Alan Gilmer, Scott Doles, all the producers. I said, can we allocate this percentage of the budget already to get these songs? And then we can economize a little bit with the remainder to make sure that we get the film shot, but it's important to me. And they agreed. And so we got all of my music for this. And then hiring the composers for the original bits of score. I'll tell you a funny story. Donna D'Erico, who was in my movie, she called me and she said, hey, do you have a composer yet? And I said, no, not yet. I'm looking, but I was probably going to use my composer that I hired for Born a Champion. And she said, well, my son, he's a composer. And in all honesty, full disclosure, I didn't say it to her, but on the other end of the phone, I'm going, oh, for fuck's sake.
Oh no.
How am I going to navigate this shit? Of course, your son's a composer. Here comes the nepotism. Yeah. I gave her a promise, and I'm a man of my word. I looked at his website. I looked at his demos. And I thought, this dude is more than credible. I contacted him, and I said, a lot of name composers won't do this. I said, would you give me throw something at me? Here's a temp. Give me your best change of this. This is the feeling that I want. And I wanted something very specific. I wanted a song, a composition called Gassenhauer. It was originally used in Badlands, a film from the 70s by another amazing director and a Texan. And he and his partner came back with something that blew my mind. And I ended up hiring him and his partner. And I think they cracked this over the center field fence, and it's in the parking lot somewhere, man. It started off as, of course, your son's a composer, to holy shit, what a gift. It's Donna D'Erico's son and his partner, but they're credible composers. It's not like this was their first composition. They're long in the tooth. They've been doing this forever, and they're incredible musicians. And brother, I hit the lottery with that. That was another one of the most wonderful phone calls that's ever befallen me. It fell in my lap, and inside, I was, oh my God, how am I going to navigate? How am I going to tell her I chose somebody else? But that's the true story. Music is incredibly powerful for me. I'll give you an example. I could shoot a purse falling off a building in slow motion. and it's a person falling off a building in slow motion. I put it to Gimme Shelter by the Stones. It's a piece of fucking art. There's more power and emotion. I've learned more philosophy from music than actual philosophy. Music is a driving source behind my inspiration, my creative, everything. So that was a leading seat coming out of the gate for me.
Cool. Another couple questions here. We got a lot of questions. I don't think we're going to get to them all. But Jack T. Ripper asks, if you were to shoot the film again, is there anything you would do differently?
If anybody ever tells you no, they're full of shit. Of course, man. Of course, man. I mean, how arrogant if I said, no, exactly what I intend. No, you live and you learn. Back and you're like, I wish I'd have thought of that prior. Wish I'd have thought of this prior. Having said that, I'm incredibly happy where this film ended up. I mean, we didn't have a ton of money to go do it. Everybody, you know, it's not that they under-promised, but they certainly over-delivered. And I asked the crew on day one, I said, guys, I'm going to ask y'all to hold my hand. You are better than me in your respected field. And I am going to use this opportunity to learn from y'all. I'm going to take advice from y'all. And they did. They held my hand the entire way. And it was a wonderful experience. But yes, of course, there's things that you look at on the day and you're like, I wish I would have foreseen this. I wish I would have more eloquently navigated that. But I'm happy with where it ended up. I really am.
Great. And Daniel for $5 super chat says, I'm convinced. Hand the keys to Disney over to this man. We're talking about Disney and some people having issues with Star Wars. And I'm among them, and that's a whole discussion that I think a lot of fandom talks about. But you know, when you meet a lot of people in the indie film world, this is why we really like to promote independent films on our channel and on filmthreat.com. And by the way, there's a really great review of your movie on filmthreat.com right now. I don't know if you've seen it. Yeah, I don't know if you've seen it, but this is why we say, like, look, if you're disappointed with this other stuff, there's so much more out there to check out, including your film, which is in theaters today. I want to say Zach's comment is Sean Patrick Flannery versus Johnny Lawrence in a cage. Let's make this happen.
Who is Johnny Lawrence?
Johnny Lawrence is from Cobra Kai. He was the nemesis in The Karate Kid.
Are you talking about Billy Zabka?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
You know Billy?
Okay, check it out. Man, first of all, I did a movie called A Tiger's Tale, where Billy Zabka beats up C. Thomas Howell. I have 2 lines in that movie. It was when I was going to University of St. Thomas, and they filmed it here in Houston. So I met him on that. Then when I moved out to California, I was waiting tables at TGI Fridays, and I used to wait on Billy Zabka. Man, let me tell you something about Billy Zabka. That dude is the coolest dude I've ever met. I mean, he might as well have been Elvis Presley back when I was waiting tables. And dude remembered me from the dude just treated me like a buddy. And it was a really, you know, it's not lost on me. Back then, that was like a welcome mat into the industry. I thought, this dude's been in everything. And he's just a regular, like, hey man, what's up? Good to see you. I was just like, holy shit, man. That is a solid dude top to bottom. So how about me and Joey Lawrence versus any other 2 dudes? Because I got Joey's back.
Yeah, the character is so great in Cobra Kai. I think you would love that show. And unfortunately, we got to wrap it up. But one last question for you: what is your dream project to work on in the future?
Man, it's good. Something good. There is no genre that I dig. But realistically, the reason I'm on my computer right now, I'm turning this into a screenplay adaptation, and that's pretty high on my priority list. You know, a lot of companies have come out of the woodwork to get the rights to it, but it's a little bit too personal a story to me to just kind of hand over for money. So I kind of want to hands-on. So I'm in the process of doing that. So my dream project would be seeing Jane 2 to fruition.
That's great. Sean Patrick Flannery, thank you so much for joining us on the Film Threat podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure. Congratulations on the movie. Frank and Penelope is in theaters. Make sure you go check it out. I'm sure it's coming. I'm sure it's coming to video on demand at some point, but see it however you can. Sean, thanks for spending time with us today. This is awesome.
Thank you guys very much, man. God bless and Godspeed.
Thank you.
All right. Take care. See you soon. Awesome. Dude, that was great. Oh man, that was
It's me.
awesome. Let's
I love this movie. The look, the
through some
style
chat.
of it.
We have another guest coming on in a few minutes here. Michael B. He's going to tell me how to pronounce his last name. Michael B. Chait. It's going to be coming on here very, very shortly. We're going to have him on. But let's go to the chat comments here. Wait, we've got a super chat here from Harry Balzonia for $5. Says, to cleanse my palate from the abomination Disney has created, I watched Battle Royale last night. Strongly recommend Battle Royale. Strongly recommend that movie. Recommend the first movie, actually. The second movie is terrible. I'm sorry. The second, they did a Battle Royale too, and it's very forgettable. And Flaccid Phoenix says, let's get Alan to kiss his biceps. All right, go for it, Alan. Come on.
If I have one, I'd do it.
We need to
Yes.
get a screenshot. We need to get a screenshot for that. And then Solomon Thornton says, what a cool guy. Hey, we only bring cool people here on the show.
Yeah.
Jack D. Ripper says, great guy. I just think that like indie filmmakers, they're very, indie filmmakers are generally not necessarily hired guns. They're people who are very passionate about a topic, about the subject of their film. And it was great.
Yeah.
Daniel
I don't think a studio would have made Frank and Penelope. I mean,
it's you were talking about it because that's true of a lot of indie films. You look at the way that they're financed and made, it's comes from a place of true passion. Mm-hmm. So Daniel says, no mas, Chris, no mas. The excitement is too much to handle on a Friday. Well, this is why we're here, for your Friday dose of excitement. Dempsey says, I can't believe that I actually got a chance to ask him a question that blows my mind. That's why you're here. And we have other guests coming up every, Friday. We try to get someone who has an interesting independent film that you can see, right? That you actually can go like, oh, I want to see that movie. So this is, that's our purpose. That's what we're all about. So we thank you for all your chat, especially the super chats. Really appreciate those to help support the channel. And our job is to tell you about, yes, there's movies in theaters, right? There's movies, Top Gun Maverick, that's, still in theaters, right? And it's not going anywhere. That movie's very successful, very successful. But, also there are alternatives to that. You don't have to well, it's in the theaters, I'm just going to go to whatever's at my big multiplex. There are all sorts of, and I've noticed more recently that the AMC Burbank 16 that's near me, and is actually showing more indie movies. Sometimes they're at odd times, but the indie movies will, you have an opportunity to see something else. And so what I'm saying is, okay, this is the big movie that opened. Consider other choices. Consider other choices. So thank you for that. Now, and on that note, another movie that I believe is out today, he's going to let us know. Michael B. Chait is here. He is joining us on the show. Michael, hey, and Michael's got a really good background.
Thank you. I got that working about 2 minutes ago, so I'm really glad that I did. Otherwise, it would be a beautiful set of white blinds on the window. So
that's great. Well, tell us, is your film Wolfhound? It's in theaters today, or it's out on video on demand?
Actually, both, and I'm extremely thankful for that. It's very surreal. We've got 33 theaters across the country, especially in the hometown here in Detroit. Sorry, I just got somebody texted me about the background right now.
It's backwards, but that's okay. We've got a background.
The brain has swapped it around.
That's all right.
So
excellent.
Tech difficulties, but that's okay. Wait a sec. Did you say Detroit?
Yeah, it's in 8 theaters in Metro Detroit, and that's where I am coming at you from. That's where I was born and raised, and that is where we shot most of the movie in Metro Detroit. But to finish answering your question real fast, it's also on Amazon Prime, on Apple TV. Those are the 2 biggest streamers. It's on a bunch of other ones as well. So that means everyone has no excuse not to see the movie today, because you can see it anywhere. Yeah, like honestly, we started shooting this in 2018. Never in my wildest dreams, as one of the biggest original Top Gun fans and Tony Scott fans on the planet, if you had told me 10 years ago, hey, your first movie is going to be coming out a week after Top Gun 2, I would not have believed it for $1 million.
Well, congratulations on that. And also, I'm a Detroit guy myself. I was born and raised in the Detroit area, Royal Oak
Really?
in particular. Yeah, right off Woodward Avenue, man. Like that. So you know what I'm talking about. Detroit is what I love about Detroit, and anyone I've met from Detroit, and I know you already know this, people from Michigan and Detroit have a very highly tuned bullshit detector. So
Yes.
being in the entertainment industry, that helps a lot. You know what people who are going to follow through and people who keep their promises, and you know people who are full of crap, right? And your film, I really feel like it's perfect timing in the sense like it's a World War II story. It's action. It's being released by Lionsgate, so you know you've got like some backup there to help on the release. But how does that feel? And on the heels of Top Gun Maverick, I actually think is a good thing because people have a thirst. I really feel like, and we talk about this all the time on the Film Threat podcast here, is like we want a thirst to just give us old school good storytelling. That's all people want. So is that how you approach this? Is like, I'm going to tell a story that's just going to have that people can just get involved in, like a classic Hollywood movie we don't see as much anymore.
Well, it's interesting you say that because the exact goal from the beginning was to try to do something that I personally had not seen before, which was blending like the real classic like World War II films from the 30s, the 40s, some from the 50s that had that like golden age feel, almost like not an innocence, but like, you know, not the kind of, you know, intensity of Saving Private Ryan or Hacksaw Ridge or something, but blending that with what I grew up on and what made me want to become a filmmaker, 80s and 90s action movies. And like the heightened, you know, larger than life cinematic world that like a lot of Schwarzenegger and Stallone movies live in. And my favorite directors, James Cameron, John Woo, Ridley, Tony Scott, Michael Bay, Sam Raimi, Russell Mulcahy, John McTiernan. I could go on, but it's like that same kind of just super special movie world instead of being so, you know, accurate that everything is just like gray and depressing and it's like so gritty. It's grittier than gritty. It's so real. And like, there's no way we could compete with something that's like $100-200 million budget that can show the scale of World War II in that kind of realism. So we went the other direction, kind of leaned in to more like, what's the kind of movie we want to see? You know, what's the kind of fun Indiana Jones adventure type of thing crossed with Top Gun, but also like, you know, and as a Jewish man myself, the weight of World War II and like never letting that slip away. And like there's certain scenes in the movie that are there specifically to remind you, you know, don't forget this stuff. You know, this really did happen. Our movie's historical fiction based on truth, but the evil that's there, it's still in the world. And it's one of those like, you know, don't forget about this. Don't let it repeat itself. But I think I answered your question. Hopefully, I can be verbose, but the short version is my writing partner Tim Ritchie. We love World War II. He found the KG-200 story of the Luftwaffe squadron that actually tried to do this and capture American planes, fly them back into combat. They didn't succeed, but our movie's like, what if they got that close?
Well, I need to let you know you're getting a lot of love in the chat right now. So there's
Oh,
over
cool.
100. There's over 100 people watching. We got questions for you coming from our chat. And I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to introduce myself. I don't know if you saw Chris Gore. It's my colleague Alan Ing. We are Film Threat, and we're just happy you're taking time out of your Friday morning. Well, it's later for you in Michigan to talk to us. So quick reminder from Goober to we're also about slapping that like button. So slap the like button so more people will discover this video. And Solomon Thornton says, greetings, Sir Michael. So
Greetings.
Dempsey has a question for you. What was it like doing a film about A-10s? I have always loved those, being from an aviation town with a giant Air Force museum.
Well, I did 2 commercials, one in 2012, one in 2007, that both featured live fire exercises of A-10 Thunderbolts. One for the 110th Fighter Wing, which doesn't have any the planes anymore, sadly, and one for the Black Snakes, 127th in Indiana. And it was, I mean, it was one of the biggest rushes of my life. Having those things screaming overhead and literally telling them, please fly at my head, and then pull off like 10 feet after you're before you hit us. And just like, I mean, this is going to sound cliche, but just like smelling the jet fuel and just like seeing the rockets and the Gatling guns fire, and also just the huge amount of respect that I have for the pilots, the mechanics, the ground crew, pretty much everybody in the armed forces, like for real. And that's one of the reasons we made Wolfhound as a tribute. It was wild. I mean, it was more fun than you should ever be allowed to have making a commercial.
And more comments here. Matthew A. Kobo says, trailer looks great. Plane shots look intense. And Jack D. Ripper asks, what was the hardest artistic choice you made in the making of this film at any stage in production?
Oh, man. I think the hardest artistic choice, it was actually about the rating. We were very concerned, being this is the first, feature film I've been lucky enough to make. It's been with, my team, basically, most of which I met in film school at Columbia College, Chicago. And, almost every department head, went to school with me. And this has been such a long time coming. We didn't want to make any mistakes, big mistakes along the way. And when it came to like, do we go R or PG-13? Because that, not to sound too much, business versus art, because I'm much more on the artistic side. PG-13, a lot more people can see the movie, but at the same time, it's like, we're killing Nazis here. Do we really not want to go R? And so we basically tried to like toe the line to have the hardest PG-13 that we could, but not go into our territory. And like, as we were filming, the more, this is going to sound like possibly silly, but with every Nazi that gets shot or blown up or just, buys the farm in the movie, I'm sitting there like, I kind of wish that was a little harder. I kind of wish that we had more squibs on that guy. Like, let's do 7 instead of 2. And we ended up getting an R rating because we did go just over that line. So in retrospect, it's like, we could have had RoboCop and Total Recall action with the blood hits, but I think it's classy. It's more accessible. Like, I think people that are in their early teens can still enjoy it with their parents. So I think that worked out. But yeah, it was literally like how violent versus, not really showing it.
What's the preparation like for aerial sequences? Considering this is your first film, I would imagine that's pretty daunting.
Just a little bit. It was very intense. We were blessed to have truly, I mean, I'm not exaggerating. I think the best aerial coordinator in the business, Craig Hosking. He did Dunkirk with Christopher Nolan. He flew for Pearl Harbor with Michael Bay. His resume is like 300 things long. And he was kind enough to come out. He choreographed every single maneuver, every shot. The pilots we had from the Yankee Air Museum and the Military Aviation Museum were awesome. But like, you need someone to make that safe. You need someone that really understands camera work, space, movement, kinetic energy to really make it sing. And literally every, just like you see on the Top Gun documentaries, at least the Tony Scott 86 one, every single flight, there was like a 45-minute group meeting, like pre-flight meeting. He took model planes that we brought, choreographed it. I said, here's what I want. He said, that'll kill someone. Here's what we will actually do. And then he had the pilots actually walk their moves in the hangar and out on the tarmac, and literally have arms, sometimes out like they're a plane. It's like, so you're going to go here, you're going to do this, I'm going to do that. And then they just went up and executed it. And It was incredible.
Wow. What was, we have another question here. We have a lot of questions, actually. Hopefully you can get to them all. Solomon Thornton asked, what was the best advice you got in filmmaking?
Well, two things. One, don't take anybody else's advice. Two, and this is actually real. I was very blessed to get to know Jonathan Frakes, who plays Commander Riker in Star Trek. He directed First Contact, which is one of my favorite movies. Scared me to death as a 12-year-old. And he, talked to me for 45 minutes before we shot this on day one. And he gave me some really great, technical advice, time planning advice to make your days. So, on the work itself, the craftsmanship, that was invaluable. But the best advice, I think, I've gotten it and I will give it again. And James Cameron kind of has said things like this. If you love it, if you want to be a filmmaker, if you have that passion, do not let any of the haters, any of the naysayers, anybody that over the years, and there will be thousands of people literally over the years that you'll come in contact with, whether it's friends, family, colleagues, other filmmakers that just say, oh, you shouldn't do this. Oh, no, what you really want to do is this. Oh, no, you don't want to direct. You want to do this. Oh, you shouldn't make an action movie. You should make something more, just independently minded. Well, for me, my mind was action, and just really following that passion, never letting it die, never letting that fire in your heart for making movies go out. And then eventually, this took us about a decade to do. And I wouldn't trade that work for anything in the world. It's surreal talking to you guys right now. And like this wouldn't have happened for us if I had listened to anybody say, nah, you shouldn't do that. It's just too hard.
Patrick Lemire has a question here. It says, trailer looks really convincing. Kudos for shooting in Michigan. Did the state help with budget? I know it takes so long to put a project together. Michigan has some very favorable to indie filmmakers. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, the short answer is actually yes and no. We did not get any tax incentives. So we were very lucky to be funded by a single investor. And it was actually Bob Lutz, who was a big time automotive executive. He was one of the heads of the big three at various times. He just helped make the Dodge Viper. So he's a pretty cool guy. But the film incentives that Michigan used to have were incredible. Then they went away. It got really hard to film here. They're coming back though, hopefully. And there's a group of people that I'm friends with that are actively working with the government to try and get them back. But what I will say is the network that we've built up in Michigan, because I've always tried to bring, as much commercial work, music video work, even short films, just anything here that we could, and keep it in the state, because there's so many great artists here and there's great equipment, great locations, just great filmmakers, great actors. So I will say in that case, yes, because if it wasn't for everyone we knew here, Sue Witham, my producing partner, she's a longtime commercial producing veteran with her own network. And it's like we combined our networks and there's no way we could have done this in any other state just because of the lifetime of favors that we called in. But the incentives are hopefully coming back to answer part of that question.
Dempsey has a question. What are your feelings on practical effects or lack thereof in modern cinema? I think audiences, this comes up a lot when we talk with people here on YouTube and just other film fans, that there's almost like too much of a dependence on digital effects, where you look at like the Marvel movies and it looks like they just stood in front of a green screen, and kind of like there's a disconnect. So where do you stand on practical versus, practical effects in modern cinema, and the, wishing maybe you could use them more?
So I'm going to be very careful answering this because I don't want to get punched in the face by my visual effects supervisor and good friend Ryan Urban. But I love practical effects. I've always been a huge advocate for in camera. If we can do it live, let's do it live. Let's try to augment with digital effects instead of fully create. And, in my opinion, and this might piss some people off, especially aerial movies, like aside from Dunkirk, Top Gun, Pearl Harbor, Battle of Britain, from 1968, most aerial action movies, most war movies, it looks like a cartoon. It looks like a PlayStation cutscene. You know, and I'm not going to name any specific movies, but it pains me because it's like, oh my God, you got $100 million, you got $50 million, and we had a shoestring, and it's like, why aren't you using the real aircraft, or use real cars, flip real cars and trucks over, do it for real. And you know, I grew up loving like Terminator 2, True Lies, Face Off, you know, like all like the classics from the 80s and 90s where there was CG, but it was kept to a minimum, and it was either scale models or just the real deal. And I'm very proud to say in our movie, there's over 400 visual effects shots, and I don't think that you are aware that you're watching more than 50 of them, because it's like organic and like almost invisible effects, either to paint out, you know, safety harnesses on stuntmen or blend in squid patches better to uniforms. The scale models, in all fairness, they needed some touching up, and like the visual effects artists made them look almost real when they blew up and augmented a lot of explosions and everything. But if it's safe, you know, if it's not going to risk someone's life or limb, I'm always for do it in camera, do it practical. It's going to be more exciting. It'll be more of an event, more emotional, more engaging to watch. And as long as you have the right people, like we had an awesome stunt team. Ely Barta, our stunt coordinator, he's worked with Michael Bay, with Marvel, with DC. He routinely said no, and I said, okay, what's the closest you can do where we won't kill somebody? You know, just like the aerials, he said, well, we can do this. I'm like, great, do it. We'll make it look really hot. And so I'm a big time advocate for let's keep it in camera as much as we can, but listen to your visual effects supervisor. If he says, no, trust me, we can do this, it'll look better, it's going to look amazing, it'll be safer, trust them if they're awesome, you know, like ours thankfully is, and let them go to town, and they can elevate, you know, VFX can elevate a movie, but it shouldn't be the whole movie.
Daniel has a question for $5. Thank you for your super chat. I was friends with a B-17 navigator who would have ate your movie up. He never lost his love for those planes. Good on you for making this. So a nice comment here from Daniel. And CD Stein 69 says, seems like Michael is starting to do for action movies to what Sam Raimi did for horror in Michigan. Network. There you go. And then another question here from Akanika. What was it like working with John Turk?
Oh my God. Okay. So very short. Well, it's a long story, but very, very short. He came into an audition for one of my student films at Columbia College in Chicago in 2005, and I didn't know who he was. And it's like, I had no idea Sub-Zero from Mortal Kombat is right in front of me. And I like played his character as a kid. And my writing partner, Tim, was there helping me with casting. And I was like, why are you freaking out a little bit? It's like he was acting like really antsy. And as soon as John left the room, he's like, that was freaking Sub-Zero. Oh my God. I was like, what? And so we became very good friends with John. He's a family friend of mine and my parents. And he's one of the nicest guys in the world. So, I mean, we've worked together countless times. And for his character in this film, he has probably the most dramatic, well, no, I mean, James Maslow, to be fair, has some equally dramatic scenes, but in terms of like the very evil, kind of like the more, we called it the Schindler's List scene, to really remind the audience who and what the Nazis were and are. He had to shoulder that. And I don't know if you guys saw the film yet, but it's an interrogation scene, and it's almost a monologue. And what he did with his acting chops, it blew everybody away to the point where the focus puller forgot to focus the camera at one point, and he kind of like leaned in and his eyes went soft. I was like, dude, what happened in the shot? He's like, I got so into the scene, I forgot we were filming. And like John, I think like personally, he's always cool. He's always been great in whatever he does. But in this movie, you see a side of him, and acting ability that I don't think anyone has seen before. I'm biased, but I truly believe that. And he's the nicest, goofiest, funniest guy. It's a joy to work with him. And he's again, a very close friend.
I hope you can stick around for a couple more questions. I know we got to wrap up, but Jack D. Ripper says, how different were what you originally envisioned the film being like and how it eventually turned out?
That's a hard question to answer because I don't want to sound like, pompous or big on myself at all, because I'm not. But it actually came out very close. Like what we intended to do, we were very lucky enough to do. And I think as we made the movie, the one thing that we like zeroed in on and locked in on more was the tone, the very specific, like, fun action adventure movie, but never losing the weight of World War II and what it means. And I think, that became clear. But in terms of the overall, we actually were pretty close. The only thing that I wish we could have done was bigger stunts, more explosions, even more action. And there was a review that a very kind review that came out earlier this week that said we basically threw in the kitchen sink. I would have liked to throw in a second kitchen sink. That's me. But no, I'm just blessed, thrilled, and thankful at how the movie came out.
Another question here. Flaccid Phoenix asks, what shot was the most fun to shoot?
The most fun to shoot. Okay. It's a tie. One is our director of photography, Wes Gathright. He makes a cameo in the movie as a scared Nazi soldier running away from battle, and John Turk's character shoots in the back. He crumbles. There was big ass squib on him, and John goes coward, and then he ducks from gunfire. So it's a joke. And I've been waiting to shoot Wes Gathright, my DP, for about 20 years. And that was, I mean, I get killed, the writer gets killed. Like we all kind of had cameos where we buy the farm. But I'd say it's a tie between that and, like, there is nothing like having a B-17 Flying Fortress or a Spitfire or a P-51 literally like coming at your head and then peeling away at the last second, just like that. We did it safely, no FAA violations. But man, I mean, that's like the kind of stuff you can only get away with making a movie. And I will forever both treasure those shots and never be able to get that moment out of my memory. So.
Well, congratulations on the film. I want to remind people it's in theaters. You can see it. Last question here for you from Zach's. What's your dream film to make? Now that you've made Wolfhound, you spent like a decade working on getting this made, shot it in Michigan. It is now out for the world to see. But do you have a dream film beyond this movie?
Anything with Star Wars or Star Trek in the title, please give me a call. I'll be there tomorrow.
Well, I think they could use some help, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm not like, I like the old school Star Wars. I don't necessarily like the direction that they're going now. Like, this is a topic that comes up. I think a lot of fans want Star Wars to get back to its roots. So I'd love to see you do it.
The original trilogy, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you literally cannot get better than that.
Yeah.
Just movie-wise. And I noticed the R2-D2 that's right next to it.
Yes. Yeah.
But I will admit, like, I was bawling when I saw The Force Awakens at certain moments. And I loved what J.J. Abrams did with that movie. I'm going to just not say anything about The Last Jedi. Okay. And we'll leave it at that.
The chat loves you. The chat loves you. Yeah, well, we could talk on and on. I mean, look, we talk about the sequel trilogy maybe not succeeding in the way it should. There are moments like when you see the Millennium Falcon for the first time, that little hunk of junk, when you see Han Solo again, like there's moments, you get chills. Like I've been waiting to see that for years.
You know what it was for me? And this might be very esoteric and like just me, but when Rey catches the lightsaber in the finale of the first movie and the Burning Homestead soundtrack comes on, when that happened, it destroyed me, like both nostalgia wise and just like what that meant. And like if the whole movie was that 20 seconds, like I'd be happy. Like it just that yeah, I cried my eyes out when that happened. And I don't know, maybe it's just like a very specific, like maybe it was the music, maybe it was the exact timing, but just like for me, that was like that's like my favorite moment probably in the entire sequel trilogy.
Well, Michael, thank you for joining us on the Film Threat podcast today. Wolfhound is out. You can see it. Thank you for spending time with us. This was great. And congrats on the film, and come back when you make your Star Wars movie. You need to come back here and talk to the fans. You need to talk to us.
No, absolutely, man. I look forward to it, hopefully. And whatever movie number 2 is, I'd be glad to come back. And thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Great. Take care, Michael. Have a great day. Great weekend. I know you're going to.
You too, guys. Thanks.
Awesome. Later. Oh, man, he was great.
Wow.
That was awesome.
Wow, that's 2 great interviews. I mean,
two great interviews back to back. So yeah, just a reminder for people, Wolfhound, seek it out however you can. Check it out. I mean, I have like goals with what I'm trying to do with this YouTube channel. One is to have honest conversations that involve you, the audience, right? Sometimes Alan, and teasing. I love Alan. I love Alan.
I know you have a lot of questions, and so
Alan
we're just gonna fight it out.
Alan has fans. Can I tell you why Alan has fans? I think that's an appropriate way to, to throw in a Star Wars.
When you honor things, you have to put your soul into it. Everything about your being into these things.
You have to. Yeah, Elon loved it.
And we love you.
But our goal is to have these honest conversations, movies that are opening in theaters, but also other movies you can see, because look, I get depressed and a little upset. I get more than a little upset about kind of, you see just sort of the direction that Hollywood's going. And I think at some point there's going to be a turn. I think there has to be, when you look at the success of something like a Top Gun Maverick, and even a success of, and I know I brought it up, people are going to tell me to shut up, RRR. How is it that an Indian movie, a movie that we would not know, is opening in theaters to packed audiences? How is this happening? And it's all already on Netflix. It's on Netflix already. You can see it, but people are still going to see it in the theater. It's because of the theatrical experience. And when I saw it, it was like, I haven't seen a movie since Endgame that had that big of an audience reaction of people cheering and clapping. And it's an experience. And the experience of seeing a film in a theater like that, Top Gun had the same kind of just like you're so pumped. And there's just, you feel like all is lost. And then it just renews my faith in cinema. So, we want to talk about those films, but also I want to introduce you to indie filmmakers, give you a chance to talk to them directly. And then also we're going to do fun things like Star Wars on Trial. That's going to happen. We're going to tie it to the end of the Kenobi series wrapping up, and we are going to put Star Wars on Trial. And we're going to put on the stand Lucasfilm and Disney for the murder of Star Wars. We're just going to go through it. And we're going to go through, here are the things that Disney and Lucasfilm specifically did that basically has ended this franchise. And then we'll have a funeral, and we'll have the sentencing. And we're going to do everything that you do in a trial, but we're going to do it with a franchise. Does that
sounds like you've planned the verdict already?
I'm not planning the verdict necessarily, but no, I'm gonna bring on people to present aspects of the case, right? And I'm gonna break it down on the first episode of this Star Wars on Trial. We're gonna lay out like what the case is against Disney and Lucasfilm for murdering Star Wars, and then it's going to be a very interesting sentencing. But I want people to present their case. Let's go to some comments as we wrap up today. Let's go. Chet's mom 4. Love always talking to Chet's mom 4. Detroit boy does good. Yes, Detroit. It's weird how like, and I didn't get a chance to talk to Michael about this. There's kind of like in the entertainment industry, there is what we call the Michigan Mafia. And it's people who, left Michigan to pursue a career in entertainment, that work in entertainment. And just like me, you're like, these people are fucking crazy. Am I wrong? Or am I off base? Are these people a little crazy, a little off? Because you see the madness in this industry and how bizarre it is sometimes. And I'm a very common sense guy. I'm very just much grounded, common sense, no BS. Some may call me based. Like it's just so a lot of things you see in the entertainment industry are kind of like what you would see on an episode of The Boys. Matthew A. Kobo says, awesome guy. Flaccid Phoenix says, need more nipple punishment for Alan. So
I'd go for that.
Chef Mom 4 says, I'm both repelled and drawn to that Alan video. Does that mean I need to play it again? Should I play it one more time? Let's see. Paul's NYC says, you need to talk to Rekieta about the trial setup. Absolutely. I will have Nick Rekieta on. He and I have chatted back and forth because I'll watch Nick Rekieta, which Rekieta Law is his channel. Subscribe to the channel. He has way more subscribers than me. He doesn't need my help. But I've talked to him, and sometimes Nick Rekieta will go into a conversation about indie film and the entertainment industry. And I realize like, oh, I can add something to this conversation. Not that Nick doesn't know what he's talking about, but I feel like I have something to contribute. And I've messaged him a couple times. He says, hey, we got to have you on the show. I just don't know when I might be useful. So because I like to, if I'm going to be on a show, I don't want to destroy it. Whenever I've done like, say, the Nerdrotic Nooner or FNT Friday Night Tights. And by the way, today, Friday Night Tights is the 200th episode of Friday Night Tights. They've been going now. I mean, that's like almost 4 years. They've been doing Friday Night Tights every Friday, even holidays. I am a watcher of that show. That's how I've discovered so many other channels. And my fear when I first appeared on that show was I don't want to break the show. Like, I don't want to do a bad job. So whenever I do anything like being on someone, I don't want to like, I want to contribute something. I don't want to take away. But yeah, I'm going to talk to Nick. Because at some point, I know I'll end up on his show, but it has to be for a very good reason. If they're talking indie film, I can add to that. And Nick I'll have on in our trial. I'll have him present one of the aspects of the case. Blah, blah. Detroit needs more positive exposure. That's true. Turo says, Alan made me laugh so loud I scared my dog.
I scare dogs all the time.
And Andre Villafranca says, I wish the people in positions of power in Hollywood could be like Chris. Where is the common sense, human decency, creativity, talent? Just, I don't know. I feel like there are people like me because I run into them and they come up to me and they say, quietly, this happened over Star Wars Celebration weekend. I had someone who worked on Kenobi actually walk up to me and said, oh, I do the props on the show. By the way, here's a prop. He gave me a coin from Tatooine, which was awesome. But it feels sad sometimes because they come up to me and they're afraid to speak out loud about stuff. And I met a guy I don't want to out him, but I met a guy at the RRR screening the other night who was like, a lot of people are kind of tired of this stuff, of like what's happening in Hollywood. So thank you, Andre, for that comment. I feel like they're there, but there's a fear about speaking out about things. So Jack D. Ripper says, who asked a lot of great questions today, Jack.
Absolutely.
We appreciate it. Better than my questions, better than Alan's questions. Maybe
mine were pretty good.
No, yours are good. Jack D. Ripper says, you guys are giving us a great opportunity here to ask filmmaking questions to real filmmakers who care about the craft. I am learning so much from this show. Thank you so much. Well, this is what I say is it's like, look, you can do this. This is the thing that's weird about Hollywood and I think the reason why a lot of things in Hollywood are not great is because it's mostly people that are hired guns. Like a person who does a Disney Plus show is like, it's a freelance job, right? And then you got to get your next job. So what are you doing if it's so important to you to get the next job? What that means is you're going to do everything you can to please who that person is that hired you so you can get hired again, whether it's directing an episode of a Disney Plus series or several episodes or writing on a show. You're always, because the entertainment industry is freelance. It's a freelance business. You got to please the masters who hired you so that you're in their good favor, so that they'll hire you again and or recommend you and or not say anything bad about you to someone else if, you know, they check like, well, what was it like to work with so-and-so on this movie? People talk in this industry, and it's a climate constantly of fear, but an independent filmmaker chooses their own destiny. And I always say this about, if I can give one piece of advice, just one, I would say be in control of your own destiny. How do you do that? I'm an indie filmmaker. I wrote the script. If you want to be a part of this movie project I'm doing, I wrote the script. I own this. You need to get on board with me, whether it's, you know, you're investing with money or whatever it is. Or if you're an actor, here's what you should do. If you're an actor, become a producer. And what do you do if you're a producer? You know, Tom Cruise produces his movies starring him. Why does he do that? Because he works on the script. He works with the director. He hires the people. Go look. The most successful actors are ones that have production companies that they're not waiting for someone to cast them. You know who casts Tom Cruise in the next Tom Cruise movie? Tom Cruise.
Well, George Lucas did that with Star Wars.
Yes.
He did not want input from anybody from himself, for better or worse. And Fox was only there to distribute the movies, nothing else. This
is what I'm gonna, and also Flaccid Phoenix, appreciate this reminder.
Absolutely, thank you.
Slap that like button. The chat is on fire. We appreciate it, and subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed, and hit that little bell for notifications, and maybe you'll get a notification. I don't know. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. Oh, wow. It's just, yeah, I feel like it's just important to remind people, and this is what annoys me about our sort of celebration of victim culture. This bothers me. It bothers me to my core because it's a terrible lesson. It's a terrible lesson to celebrate victimhood and not be accountable for your own behavior. You are accountable for your own behavior, and you have the power in you to choose your own destiny. So if I go back and look at projects that I've done, I've got books, I've got movies I've made, all these other projects. You know who chose to do them? I did. You know who hired me? Nobody. I hired myself. I decided to write a book called The Ultimate Film Festival Survival Guide. I decided I'm going to do a book called The 50 Greatest Movies Never Made. I decided I'm going to make a book called Celebrities Poop, available on Amazon. I'm not joking. There's a book. It's called Celebrities Poop. It's a parody children's book. And it's based on the book by Taro Gomi called Everyone Poops, which is one of the top 10 selling children's books of all time. I thought I'm going to do a parody of that book for fun. And I did it. And my daughter did the illustrations, and it's incredibly offensive. You're welcome. I can't tell you how many people, it was in the gift bag, actually.
Yeah, it was.
Everyone that gets that book, they always put the book in the bathroom because it's like one of those things that, like, it's in the, you know, you have like,
well, it's inspirational, really.
It is inspirational. It's motivation for yourself. But yeah, like choose to do something, and then do yourself a favor and look for books that give you practical. You don't need, like, to me, I don't need that, like, you know, I need practical advice. How do I do this? What do I do? And like, the secret is, and if you, I'm going to throw up something here. If you, and this, because this applies to a lot of different things. If you want to contact us for any reason, go to filmthreat.com/contact. I'm going to tell you why you should do that. If you're interested, when I wrote my first book in the late 90s, a bunch of friends of mine were like, well, how did you write that book? And I had to really think about, well, how did I write this book? And I would get in these 2-hour-long discussions with friends, kind of coaching them and motivating them. Like, well, here's how I think I did it. Well, I got tired of having that conversation, so I wrote an essay. The essay is called How to Write a Book. And it's It's short. It's would probably, if I printed it out, it would be a pamphlet. But it's all about process. And what is it? You know, do you want to be in good physical health? What do you got to do? You got to run for 5 minutes a day. Then you run for 10 minutes a day. Then you run for 15 minutes a day. Then you add weight training in. It's with anything. It's consistency and discipline. So I wrote this essay specifically to address, like, here's how I wrote my book. Is basically I would get up super early in the morning and I would write. Well, first of all, I'd spend 6 months doing an outline for a book, which I could probably do it in less now. But at the time, I spent 6 months with my outline. My outline was like 30 pages. And I kind of outlined like every 500 or 1,000 words. Here's the subject, the topic I'm going to write about. So I spent like all this time writing the outline for the book. Then what I would do is I would get up every morning very early, not do anything. And I would just sit and I would take one line out of my outline and I would write for 500 words, 1,000 words. And over the course of a couple months, I would say if I do that every day, I'm writing 5,000, 10,000 words a week. Well, guess what? In less than 2 months, I had 60,000 words. I had a book. The average book is between 50 to 60,000 words, average book, right? So consistency, discipline. This you can apply to any goal that you want to achieve. It's all about being disciplined and to be consistent and not be distracted by all this stuff and all this thing. And look, it happens to me too. I get distracted with stuff. This is why I post this. I made a decision like 4 years ago. I made a decision. I'm going to post less on social media. Why am I giving this stuff away for free? Why am I like writing a 600 word rant on Facebook? Facebook doesn't pay me shit. Facebook monetizes my data. Fuck them. Fuck Facebook. Fuck Twitter. Fuck all these social media outlets, right? Make something for yourself so you can do it, whatever that goal is. And look, find what you love and just like find a way to hire yourself to do it. Now, if you contact me at filmthreat.com/contact, just say book essay. I'll email you back with the book essay. Anyone that does that. Okay. Those emails it goes to both Alan and I. We have this sort of, when you use that form, it goes to all of us, and kind of like the right person to respond will respond to you. Alan Ing will write you back.
Oh, thanks.
Alan
I will
Ing,
write you back.
Alan Ing, who's the second best at email at Film Threat. I would say I'm the first best because I answer all.
And there's only
emails.
2 of us doing it, so
There's only like 2 of us, so yeah. But I'm incredibly relentless. My rule is if you email me, I'll email you back within 24 hours because I am a zero inbox guy. I have lots of these sort of rules that like I don't even need to write. They're just like part of my habits, right? But yeah, if you that's how to contact us, and I will send you the book essay. But it applies to anything, right? And you got to find what you love, right? Like maybe you're not creatively inclined, but you want to be involved in film. It's like, you know what you could do? You can raise money for a movie and you can work with the producer. That means you're a producer basically. But like filmmaking is a team sport. There's the writer, the producer, and multiple types of producers that fill different roles. The actors, the director. There's people think, and we put a lot of focus on the director. Yes. Because the director is kind of the central point from where everything kind of, you know, the tentacles come off the director for the most part. Then you've got writer directors like Sean Flannery, who joined us on the show. And I'm sorry we didn't get to all your questions. We usually, you know, when we reach out and try to get people to be on the show, we usually have between 20 and 30 minutes with each guest. So, and I think that's a good length for us. So we'll do our best, you know, to get to your questions. But I just, you know, part of like, I want to like inspire you and give you real world advice. And look, you can get a copy of Celebrities Poop on Amazon. All you gotta do is write that down.
yeah, right.
Maybe
Don't forget the one at the end.
Maybe Flaccid Phoenix, you can put that in the chat, in the description for the show. And Patrick Lemire says Chris is the Nostradamus of celebrity poops. Akanika just puts the poop emoji. And Chet's mom 4 says wrong. It should be in the bedroom. It should be in the bedroom. Chet's mom 4. Wait, did I give you a copy of that book? Message me later. Okay, Bethel Games says, no, I'm not accountable for my obscene behavior. I'm just a victim of my passion, so stop oppressing me. Yeah, that's what I hear, and I see it, and I'm just like, that's not a winning attitude. That's not an attitude that will lead to success in life and or purpose. And to me, the secret to me of happiness is purpose. I have a purpose. Alan has a purpose. And I don't know. Like, I'm like, what's the next thing? What are we doing? We're going to do, all right, we're going to do Star Wars on Trial. We're going to do that on YouTube. What am I doing? My movie is going to be, we're going to screen the movie Attack of the Doc. We're going to screen it. We're trying to find a place to screen it. It's San Diego Comic-Con. So we're having some difficulties. It may be an alternative venue, but we're trying to get a movie theater we can seat at least a couple hundred people. So, okay. So yeah. And MK Solid 82 asks, what about life gets you down or holds you back? I would say MK Solid 82. I think the state of the world is something that gets me. I don't know that not a lot of stuff holds me back. I mean, it's just sort of like trying to do things on an indie level is difficult because you never have money. And it's just like, well, how can we do this? And like, I always feel like the Little Rascals when they're like, we're going to put on a show and there's a backwards E in the head, you know, like, it's like, I'm constantly like, I want to make Film Threat and have it be taken seriously, but there'll be like some, you know, like when we got demonetized a couple times and, you know, stuff like that, but that's temporary. All that stuff is like, okay, like I let myself feel upset for less than a day. And then it's like, we got to move on. Let's go.
Yeah. I think you bring it up. It's dwelling on the negativity. And that's why I think, you know, with even with the chatter of Star Wars and Kenobi and how bad it is, it's hard not to dwell on it. And I just kind of have to shut myself off from that and get back to life, basically.
Yeah, I just it's to me unconscionable the way Star Wars was treated as a franchise. It's I believe that the wrong people are in positions of power to shepherd this franchise. And this recent attack on fans, which I think was I mean, you know, I think is horrible that Moses Ingram received those messages. At the same time, there's a different way to handle it.
Yeah.
Which is you don't let it affect you. You move on, you persevere, you remain humble, you remain appreciative. I'm appreciative that we have over 100 people watching. They haven't left yet. Why are you still watching this? What are you doing? I appreciate it. So there's
also something about looking at the criticisms and finding what you can do to change it or what is valid criticisms.
Well, yes, I'll tell you some valid criticisms. People say my mic is shit. I have to get a different, I would really like if I could get someone who really is much better at YouTube than I am to come to my place physically, help me set up a mic better. I actually have some better equipment and maybe get my lighting set up a little better.
You gotta work on that focus problem too.
I got to work on the focus problem. Hopefully most people are just listening to this. They're not really watching so much. Yeah, I mean, it's that cheap. I don't know. Are there settings on the Logitech C922 that I could, I don't know. But my point is that like helpful criticism will just help me get better at doing this. Certainly it's, you know, we started getting serious about our YouTube channel about 4 years ago. And I said, we're not getting traction. We have to change. Let's just start talking to people. And that's in January when Alan and I started doing live streams with you. And so we appreciate it. But I'm super optimistic about things. Like, I think that just comes from like being a dad and raising kids and like, you know, just like, okay, here's what I'll say. It's about thinking strategically, right? Thinking strategically about what I want the end result to be. So how do I get there, right? And how I get there is I like to motivate people. So I almost feel like I'm kind of like with Film Threat, I'm like part team mom, part coach. You know, I got to be the coach to like, come on, we got to do this award show. Let's go. Come on. I need like, let's get this stuff going. Let's get, you know, like I'm like the team. I mean, you know, Alan, because, you know, but I try to make it like everyone has like a role to play, right? Like, this is your part. You're doing this. It's a very important part. Now we got this. And it's just like, I don't know. Like I say, it's like putting on a little.
But
little
if you're complaining about Chris's mic, you're racist. That's all.
Yes. If you complain about oh my God. I'm so annoyed at that situation. The Star Wars on Trial thing is going to happen. And we're going to do it just like it'll be day 1, day 2, day 3. And it's going to go on. We'll do like 8 hours a day, every day for like a couple weeks. We'll see how long. And there'll be special guests. So Akanika says, Sean and Michael, both terrific gets, wonderful content as always. We thank you for that. Douch, first of all, I just want to say this. Dr. Fauci's prison butt. bicep emoji twice. For $2, says one question, was it woke? Yeah, I mean, that's the question we get all the time. Fletcher Williams, who is not here, but we're going to shout him out for $9.99. Thank you for the super chat. Sorry I am missing the show today. We'll catch it on replay. Have a great weekend. Thanks for all you do for us indie folks, Chris and Alan. Well, we appreciate you. We appreciate you. I think that's like a good note to end on. I just want to say thank you for watching every week, spending time with Alan and I. We're gonna do this Star Wars on trial thing. We're gonna tie it into the end of Kenobi. That may be day one of the trial, day one, and we're gonna go. And this is gonna be a big. We're gonna build this up as a big thing. Maybe this will get some press. Who knows? It'll be interesting. But I appreciate you spending time with us. I don't need to tell you, we're Film Thread on everything. Follow us. I don't know. I'm just glad that you're here and glad that the show is growing. Also, a quick shout out to Flaccid Phoenix, who is moderating, producing, making it possible for us to continue to improve the quality of this show. Give Flaccid Phoenix a sub on his channel. And Flaccid Phoenix also asked some really great questions today. And if we're caught up on the super chats, just want to say, well, Alan, you should say it.
Well, actually, just to mention, yeah, we are reading the chats. We do see suggestions for guests for the trial, and so we take that.
Oh, okay. Yes, let's get some guests. I'm thinking who should be guests for this trial, and we'll reach out to people on the other side to argue.
Yeah,
and
yeah, like blah blah is saying Call Me Chato is a good guess. I don't know who that is, but we'll definitely
must be someone with another YouTube channel. So let's get people.
I believe so.
And the thing is this, I'm gonna be really tough as a judge. I'm gonna be tough as a judge. I will get a gavel. What can I get? Maybe I could here. I'll use this as a gavel.
BB-8, no.
Order in the wait, I'm gonna whatever. I'll find something appropriate to use as a gavel in this, but we're gonna put on a mock trial of Star Wars. We're gonna have guests, and I'm gonna be someone who, well, we'll see how good of a judge I am. But yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, we'll discuss this more next week. Our next live stream is going to be next week. It'll be earlier in the day, so if you don't have time to check it out live, watch the replay. We'll do it. Maybe we should do it like earlier, like maybe 1. So that way you can be at home, Alan. And
1 or 2. I mean, if we do it in 2 hours, I can get on the road and.
Okay, cool. So we'll do that.
We'll be at the same place, ironically.
And then Alan and I are going to meet up. He's going to see Buzz Lightyear, which I have no interest in, and then I'm going to see RRR again. You're welcome to join me. You're welcome to join me at the AMC at the Grove on Wednesday, next Wednesday, June 8th. I think is it 8th? Yes.
Yeah. So and you won't be able to join me. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah. Well. But and there you go. But and thank you again, everybody. We'll see you next week. Take care.
Let's get out of here.